Hello. Welcome to Talking Nerds. I thought he was going to play another clip. My B.
Oh, you waited for me. So it's my fault this time. It's always something. Every week, it's always
my fault.
Always somebody else.
But yeah, hello everybody. Welcome back to Talking Nerds. We have a guest. Our first, well, not our first guest, but our first like real guest. Otherwise, it's just like hey buddy, can you jump on our podcast with no followers? Sure. Okay. Welcome, Chris from the Morning Mayhem. I wish I had a soundboard to give you some claps here, but welcome, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank y'all for inviting me, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I don't think anybody in our audience necessarily knows much about you. So, what's your channel all about? What do you like to talk about? All that stuff.
Okay. Well, it's a shame. More people should definitely know more about me. Very fascinating. I'm not. Just a fat white dude from Georgia. No, they know, and I was actually speaking to them a little bit about this earlier, but ideally I'm a filmmaker. Like that's the passion, that's the dream, that's what I want to do. I am technically an internationally award-winning filmmaker. I've got films that have played all over the world.
It's very impressive.
In various festivals. We've won awards, got all kinds of recognition and stuff. And that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
But that's what I love to do. That's what I want to do. And I really just jumped into this. I don't like being in front of the camera. I'm usually directing or editing, or I love cinematography. But I jumped in this game just to be another positive voice on the side of on my side, I guess, the more the conservative perspective of things, more of the reality perspective, really, because reality does have a right lean to it. And there wasn't enough of that in the mainstream media. And I know we've got, nerds out there doing the nerd thing that have their conservative perspective that they put on everything and look at it from a common sense perspective of, why are they turning all the chicks ugly in video games and what's going on with race swap and all the characters and stuff. And I'm like, all right, that's one element. Let me see what I can bring to the table. So I cranked it out, and I do entertainment news mixed in with actual like political news and other, hot topics that are going on. But I am on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and then the socials are pretty much all over the place. If you're there, I'm there at my Morning Mayhem, because the Morning Mayhem is one character too long. So I'm at my Morning Mayhem, mostly on X. And where all are we streaming out to? Because I know YouTube.
Yeah, we're on YouTube and Twitch right now. Believe it or not,
busting my
still
Twitch cherry.
on Twitch right now.
Wow. Well,
Hey, welcome to Twitch, man.
Hi, Twitch.
We honestly get most of our traffic from Twitch, but most for live streams at least. So
sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. I guess what's everybody been up to? We kind of talk about our weeks, but you don't have to really get into this. That's whatever. But Bluey, what have you been up to, man?
Making my round through the Infinity Saga, reminiscing of the good old days. Real sad. Lots of like disappointment. It's like when you rewatch like Thrones, and season 8's coming. It's like that. It's like that feeling.
You can smell the shit from a mile away.
Yeah. You're like, oh no. Yeah. I know what's gonna happen at the end of this. So you kind of, it's kind of where I'm at.
I've been thinking about rewatching the Iron Man movies, at least the Iron Man, maybe the Captain America movies too, just to kind of refresh my palate in terms of Captain America stuff here.
I forgot how good Winter Soldier is. Like I know.
Oh my gosh, good. Yeah.
I've just forgot how good it was. Like insane. So yeah, going to that. I think I'm starting phase 3 now. So Civil War is coming up here.
Mm-hmm. Question is, do you think Civil War or Winter Soldier is the better one? Because it goes back and forth, and I think a lot of people praise Winter Soldier more, but in reflection, I think there was a lot of Winter Soldier is great, but I think there's more problems with that movie than Civil War. I think Civil War is like a great culmination of everything with Captain America's character. and I just love that it brings in everybody else. It's like the best. It's the best non-official Avengers movie, you know.
Yeah,
Except
well,
for
that's
the
my
original
initial
Avengers, in my
that's
opinion.
my
but-
initial thought is, do people think that Civil War is better because it introduces Spider-Man, and is they just hype the movie up too much?
He's a great element, but
You're right.
I wouldn't say
So
he's the best part of it.
I'll get back to you once I watch
Yeah.
it. This week it'll be close to when I watch Winter Soldier, and I'll be able to tell you straight.
If anything, it's the best Black Panther movie.
Really, I like the first Black Panther.
Oh, I hate the first Black Panther.
I
movie.
like the
It's
first one.
horrible.
Yeah.
It looks bad. It just destroys his character altogether. I hate it so much. But
fair enough. I liked it.
Get back to me when you've watched it again.
Okay. All right. I will. Like I said, yeah. So, and then like Age of Ultron, watched that one. Watched Ant-Man. You know, when Ant-Man was good, it's still Ant-Man.
Oh yeah. The Yellow Jacket. We know where he goes next.
Yeah, I know. I watched it. I watched the end of it, and I was like, "Oh, MODOK,
my man!"
I still haven't seen Quantumania, which is funny.
Oh my
I
gosh,
still haven't watched it.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
I'm boycotting it. I don't think I'll even watch it now as I'm going through them again. I think I'm just gonna.
Well, we'll talk about it a little later, but it did better than a certain movie that just came out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So anyway, I've just been working. That's working through those.
Nice.
Yeah, that's. I'm enjoying it though. It's good to reminisce and like think of where I was at in my life watching those the first time. Because we were kids, really.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Sorry, Chris. we might feel a little younger than you.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Like Iron Man 2008. I was 10.
Oh yeah.
Watching that with my dad, and then just kind of growing up with it, and you kind of look back and you're like, oh wow, I didn't realize a lot of the elements of the story now as an adult. Being 27 here in a little bit, it's like, wow, that's different. Sorry, Chris.
I was doing the math in my head. I was like,
yeah, I'll be 27.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah,
like 20.
No, but
okay, all right.
Yeah. Just thinking, like, I didn't really get the whole weight or all the elements of the movie when I watched it the first time growing up, and then now going through them again with different perspective and more maturity on my belt. You're like, oh wow, like these are really good. Like there's a lot of good things in here that you just didn't pick up as a high schooler or even younger. So
yeah, I was thinking like people who grew up in the 80s and 90s had it good like all the time. Like every movie coming out, it's like, man, it's like too many options to choose from. When we were growing up, it was probably like 75% good movies, but even like the bad movies that came out at that time are like pretty decent now, compared to what's going on now. So like even we had it pretty good actually growing up. I just feel so bad for kids growing up now. I'm like, you have no idea what you're missing.
Well, I feel like we got the golden age of CGI. Somehow it's like
we did
peak, and then now it's going down.
Yeah,
but I feel like we got that peak right in our.
I always
years.
Not the best movie, but I always think of Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest as like peak CGI. Avatar, 2009, 2008 era. Yes, that was.
Well, even like the CGI. Transformer movies, like as cheesy as they are, like that's good CGI. Like
Michael Bay
CGI.
Movie. It's a little over the top, but it's
but it's good. It's good though. It's not She-Hulk.
It's not She-Hulk. This is true. Or even worse, Secret Invasion or Turtles or whatever you want. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
So, anyways, but yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Nice, Mr. Bick, Mr. Buffalo.
I have not done too much in regards to pop culture this week. I was out like every night this week. You know me, I go to bed early, but not this week.
This week you're getting into partyings before your kid comes.
Yes, I was up till 11 o'clock. That's pretty late.
Whoa!
Yes. Oh my!
That's when I start thinking about going to bed.
No. But I am trying to go through the Die Hard movies again, or I should say, I've seen the first two so many times, but I've never seen 3 through 5. So I just watched the second yesterday. Gonna try to watch 3 through 5 here for the first time.
I feel like 3 is a very underrated movie. it has one of the funniest opening scenes in a movie, like in any movie I've ever seen. And it would not work today. It's so racist, but it's hilarious. It's so great. And Samuel L. Jackson is fantastic in that movie. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Nice.
And then trying to finish Spider-Man. I didn't quite get through it all, but I read your notes on it. I'm like, oh, okay, so much to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that. It's rough. It pissed me off. Like, and you know what? I'm like sort of okay because like nobody's watching this show anyways. Nobody's talking. We are probably the only people on the internet talking about this show. But it really infuriated me as a Spider-Man fan. In many ways, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, once again, welcome, Chris. If you want to talk about what you've been up to lately, you can. In terms of pop culture, but otherwise, we'll get into some stuff. So
just getting yelled at because I hadn't worked on my film lately. So
there you go.
Trying to get back on that, but then I've got my next live stream coming up Monday, so I'm trying to get ready for that too. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm almost at 1,000 subs on YouTube. So
I saw that. Yeah, yeah, man.
Like, all right, let me put the push on that Monday. Yeah. So I'm kind of been all over the place, and I know we're going to talk about this, but I'll go ahead and throw this out there because y'all are going to just. I haven't seen a single Spider-Man movie.
What?
And when I say a single Spider-Man movie, I mean from Raimi to present. Other than when he was in the Avengers or Civil War, I haven't seen a single Spider-Man movie ever.
So you didn't see the MCU ones either? The like Homecoming or no, you didn't. Wow.
No. Not a Spider-Man movie.
Do you have something against Spider-man or something? Like what?
No,
what is this prejudice stem from?
In fact, I didn't start watching the MCU until right between Infinity War and Endgame.
Okay.
And so they were streaming. There were several of them on Netflix. So I watched what I could on Netflix, and I went and saw Endgame in theater. I was like, I've got to experience this. It was the biggest thing I've ever experienced as film stuff goes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't miss this, because when they were coming out, it was more of a, here's a superhero movie. It's like, oh yeah, I remember 2008. I think I was getting a divorce in 2008. My buddy's talking about Iron Man, and I'm like, oh, Iron Man, I got bigger fish to fry, and now, like you said, Blue, I mean, once I saw whatever was out there, like I think first event, Captain America, the first one, and then Civil War, I think, was out there, maybe a few. So I skipped around a little bit, whatever was on Netflix at the time before Disney Plus pulled everything back.
Yeah.
So I had enough to kind of go into Endgame and enjoy it. But then I went back and I pulled them up, and I didn't watch them chronologically. I watched them in the way that they came out. There's a lot of back and forth, I think, on that, like how should you watch them. I was like, well, I want to watch them the way they came out. So you got things that build up to the other ones and the end credit scenes and all this and that. I just wanted to do it that way. But like you were saying, Blue, like the level of storytelling, when you go back and watch the first ones, like the Iron Mans, there's so much depth to those and creating this character. I mean, you got all this weight, establishing this universe, establishing this character that's going to launch the entire universe. And then to know the behind the scenes stuff, like they were working on the script daily, like rewriting it daily, coming up with new stuff daily, like what's working, what isn't working for this. And they're just locked in their trailers and figuring it out. It's like, man, this is just raw storytelling, raw emotion going into a film. And it made it to the screen. I mean, it was great. We don't.
And if it didn't do well, we would never have gotten anything else.
Yeah. So, but a lot of times it is that pressure and those limitations, budget limitations, other limitations that make it better. I like Rob Zombie. So like House of a Thousand Corpses, I loved it stylistically. I thought it was great. But Devil's Rejects is arguably a significantly better movie. And he had less time. He shot it in 30 days, and he had like half the budget of the first one. And it was a significantly better movie, because sometimes limitations just make things better. So I think when they started, they did fantastic with the MCU. But yeah, I thought I'd get the Spider-Man thing out of the way. I figured
if anything, you need to watch first Sam Raimi Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, because Spider-Man 2 is probably the greatest superhero movie of all time, and it's definitely the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time. So,
Got it.
you need to watch those two at least. I
Yes,
just
sir.
appreciate the film. The film. Come on.
Oh
man,
yeah,
do a
and
good
I
film.
love Sam
Yeah,
Raimi.
and then
I've got.
and then you come back and talk about who your favorite Spider-Man is.
Yeah, we could do that.
There
We
you
could do
go.
that. Yeah, I
There you
love
go.
Sam Raimi because I got little posters around my room, and Evil Dead is one of them. That was
yeah.
that was a terrific, not low
Yep.
budget, lower budget, I guess, horror flick, and you can see the little hand popping up the doors and the little cheesy effects, but it was still so good.
I love
Again, those
Evil Dead 2
limitations.
is amazing, and An Army of Darkness is hilarious. I love it. It's great.
But anyways, that's all
yeah.
I ask.
No,
That's
well,
all
it's
I have
funny
to
that you say
contribute.
that because during that period of time when I'm not going to speak for Biggie and Buffalo, but when I was growing up with these movies, it was like those were the movies to watch.
Yeah.
Like those were the only things coming out, and if something else came out in between them, you're like, okay, I guess I'll do this to distract myself from the waiting for the next one. Like I was so like consumed by those movies being released. Like I don't even know what else came out during that time period because it was just like focused on the MCU because that's what was like.
A lot of people
We just
were.
loved it. I mean,
And it was like 1 or 2, maybe a year. Now they're cranking out 3 or 4 movies and TV shows on top of that.
series.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later, but DC isn't really learning anything from Marvel. So
and it's true, like we're seeing it. There's not enough limitations on these movies for the people to try to be creative. It's just kind of like, I mean, we see it in all sorts of aspects of life. Just try to throw money at things and hope that it works out. And it's not working. It's not working for Department of Education. It's not working for our movies. It's not working for our government. So money's not a fixer like people think it is. And and it's starting to show really in the movie pop culture scene.
and I would agree with you in terms of the movies like that. Your statement about all you cared about was Marvel movies coming out. I think I probably cared a little bit more about other movies coming out at the time, but I will say the MCU really like I would have called myself a nerd back then, but I probably would have been a normie, honestly. I loved Lord of the Rings to death. I loved Star Wars. Those were like our two biggest things. Indiana Jones. I loved Batman. Batman the animated series, grew up on those cartoons and everything, but I really wouldn't have called myself a nerd until I really got into the MCU, and I'm like, this is incredible. And then I'm like, man, I need to read every single comic I can to understand where these characters come from, and and then it went from there. So I owe it all to Tony Stark.
For real, we do.
For real, yeah. That's why Chris, I don't know how you reacted to Endgame. The movie's not as good as I remember it being, but I will always cry when Tony Stark dies because that was my life. Like that, everything led to that moment, and I was like, oh. And then we find out that freaking War Machine wasn't even actually him. It was a freaking scroll the whole time. I was like, dude, you ruined one of the greatest moments.
Did you watch Secret Wars, Chris?
No,
Secret Invasion.
After Endgame, I was done. I think I did. I tried WandaVision. I tried WandaVision, and it was interesting at the beginning, and then at the end, I was like, "What the hell did I just watch?" But
WandaVision was like the tell for these people really don't care about this actually, because we were all on a Marvel high, and we were expecting a certain quality of writing, and we were also expecting a plan because that's what Marvel always had was a plan. And so we were like, okay, every single end credit scene leads to the next thing. And so there's always a plan. And so like, oh, I know what they're doing here. They're trying to lead to this character showing up. And then they find out Mephisto was the character we all thought was going to show up. And they're like, who's Mephisto?
You're like, what do you mean who's Mephisto?
What do you mean who's Mephisto? He's like one of the biggest villains in Marvel Comics. What are you talking about? You don't know who Mephisto is. You are in charge of this. And so it's like that's the catalyst is like, oh, okay, this is all a smokescreen here. And then we got really political right away with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then it just all the MCU started, and it was it was bad. I remember seeing Multiverse of Madness and being I think you were there too, Buffalo, but I was just looking at everybody. I'm like, how is everybody having a good time right now? This movie's horrible. Like I hated it right off the bat, and I was like, why is everybody enjoying this right now? Like everybody was still like just trying to like get something out of the Marvel high. I'm like, this is bad. It's like not good anymore, you know?
Well, I think they poured so much into the Infinity Saga, and they had a plan, and yeah, they started introducing some woke concepts, I guess, into Endgame, but it still was like, okay, whatever. It's still enjoyable.
Yeah, the
But
writing I
then
think was more the problem with it, but then yeah.
but then they finished that up, and it's like they had no idea where to go from there. And honestly, it all kind of coincided too with the launch of Disney Plus too. I'm pretty sure that was the same year that it
Yep.
released, and
That's where
everything just
Yeah.
Wanda
Yeah.
debuted there. Like
Mhm.
or Disney
Yeah.
debuted with Wanda.
It really did, and it debuted with Mandalorian. It's like, oh, this is now where Star Wars has gone to die on a streaming
Yeah,
service.
we'll get there
But
tonight
yeah,
too.
Yep.
No, I think too, like Biggie, you I think maybe we talked off camera about this, but there's characters, you know, in Endgame where you're like, is that how we think the characters would actually react in these situations?
Mhm.
Would they actually like their characters, not what they did on screen, but their characters and their morals? Is this how they would
Yeah, like
respond in these
Tony
situations?
Stark specifically, like well, him and Cap honestly
And Cap, yep.
would like I know Peggy's pretty hot, but like, would you really do like give up being Captain America? Like all the morals and the you know everything you stand for basically for a woman. I mean, like I like think about who he is as a character, right? Like he
Well,
would
what did he
never
do in
ever
the first
actually do
movie?
that.
What did he do in the first movie?
He made the sacrificial play because he knew
Exactly, giving
what
up the
to do.
date and the
Yeah,
dance. Like, that was on
exactly.
the forefront of his
And
mind,
of
and
course,
he
it's
made the
not
right
that he
decision.
was happy to do it. It was just he knew he
Right.
had to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tony just like basically, you know, giving up saving the entire world because of a possibility that he has to have this specific child. And it's like, you don't know necessarily that that's going to be the way it happens. It could happen anyway, you know, like I don't know. I think Caps was a little more frustrating, but there are some frustrating parts of Tony. I do have to rewatch the movie again, but yeah.
You know, the one argument I could see for him doing what he did is, okay, we've rid the world, or we've rid the universe of Thanos. You know, my job is done. Now, I mean, I'm not happy with it, but I'm saying that could be one argument that
Right, but like they knew that they could potentially reverse things, and that was Tony's entire arc was becoming more sacrificial, because in the beginning he wasn't the person to make the sacrificial play. That was something Captain America literally called out, and he proved him wrong. And then he became selfish again when he like literally half of humanity was gone.
Yeah.
Not to mention, of course, we have Fat Thor, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh
come on,
gosh.
guys. It was
Scientist
funny for the
scientist
first
Hulk.
second, and then it just
Dude,
got really old. Yeah, weak
watching
Hulk.
watching these,
Ah,
I miss Hulk. I miss
I
actual
know.
Hulk. Like, it was
Yes.
awesome watching him in
That's
the
why
first movies.
Infinity Wars
Oh,
peak. Like we'll never get that ever again.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all gone.
Yeah, we came off this giant high of Infinity War, and then it just starts off Endgame, and you're like, feels like we
Yeah,
took a step back here. But I
100%.
mean, again, it's still enjoyable. Like I would
Yeah,
still
there's
take
chaos
Endgame
and
over so
Oh, yeah.
much, but
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah, I
But
mean, finally hearing Avengers assemble and, like
Yeah.
we were in a very emotional state when it came out, but like now
Right,
that we're
right.
sober minded, it's just like, what was this? Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But
the whole on your left thing too,
oh, I
like
know.
and the sad part too is I'm gonna stay on this just a little bit longer, sorry, I know you're trying to move on.
That's okay.
But
I didn't
watching
make my
Winter
transition yet,
Soldier
so it's fine.
yeah, watching Winter Soldier and, specifically, you know, Bucky's starting arc, there are so
Oh my
many
gosh. Yeah.
cameos, foreshadowing, Easter egg types that he's holding the shield. He can catch the shield from Captain America.
This first moment as Winter Soldier, like, oh,
Exactly. You're like,
Mhm.
"Hey, this guy can wield the shield." He even uses it to fight against Captain America in some of the fights. So it's like
yeah,
it's all pointing towards like, oh, Bucky could be Captain America, and then it's They just axed it. So
It
it
also
almost
just
feels like they
makes
planned it.
sense, too.
They went from here to here to here to here to here. It's Bucky, it's Bucky, it's Bucky, it's Bucky, and at the last minute they go, just kidding, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna give it to this other guy, Falcon. So
Yeah, and um, it makes sense from a character arc for Bucky to become Captain America. I still don't want him to be anybody to be Captain America other than Steve Rogers, but
exactly.
it made perfect sense because even the Winter Soldier name, if you remember in Endgame, he was supposed to be the White Wolf going forward. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out, and at the end it said Captain America and the Winter Soldier still. It's like, wait, I thought you were moved on from this. Like, the whole point was the Winter Soldier was a horrible person. It represents everything wrong in your life, everything you were trying to seek redemption from. The reason why Captain America fought Iron Man was because of this story, so that you don't have to pay for the crimes that you committed. You are a new person now. And yet we're still going back to that for some reason.
And
He's
now he's
still
a
Winter
congressman.
Soldier. And yeah, he's a congressman too now, I guess.
Not yet, but he will be.
He's running for office.
That's gonna be kind of awkward though. They're like, didn't you commit like horrible war crimes?
Well, weren't you like an assassin for Hydra? Like,
Yeah,
yes.
His opponent.
As a congressman, United States. I don't know.
His opponent. My opponent was a part of Hydra.
Yeah. And then of course Captain America, Steve Rogers is gonna come back as Captain Hydra. You know that's gonna happen. So, anyways, that all goes to what we're going to be talking about first here, which is, of course, the box office numbers for Brave New World, or Brave New Flop, if you will. It's ironic because the last thing we talked about last week was this is probably going to flop, and these numbers are probably going to be overreported and everything else. $100 million seems like a lot, but it's a Marvel movie, and I think people forget that. These things are very expensive. And if you remember, these movies used to make billions of dollars almost every single time. The last $1 billion Marvel movie we had, I think, is No Way Home. I'm pretty sure. Check that if or correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I'm pretty sure No Way Home was the last $1 billion film. Polar Nights is back. I love your cat, Biggie. I feel safe now. Thanks, buddy. So, yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine is technically.
Oh, Deadpool and Wolverine. Okay, you're right.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, that was sort of an anomaly in there.
But Spider-Man almost got $2 billion.
Yes. But the point being, these films are very expensive. Now, Chris has an article that he pulled up. I found some old articles. I don't know when Chris is. I found one back from like June of last year reporting that this film had a budget of $350 million. I think Chris, you said $380 million was what yours found.
Up to, yeah.
Lots of different sources here reporting these things, which makes sense. Principal photography for this movie started back in March of 2023. They filmed the entire thing, and then they started over again. Part of that had to do with the strike, of course. But they also said at the time that the strike is not going to affect this. So don't know how that kind of fit in there, but essentially they redid it. And then, of course, last May, they added in Giancarlo Esposito's character and basically shot another like 2 months or something like that of shots. And Anthony Mackie at the time was like, this is we're just adding some scenes to like enhance the movie or whatever. It's like, actually you're adding an entire character in there. So, it's basically changing the plot altogether. We kind of talked about that last week, but, what they're trying to report is $180 million budget. It's all bullshit. Obviously we know it was probably even more than 380. Of course, we also know marketing is they never put marketing in there. So let's just say, for the sake of figuring out the numbers here, it's $180 million budget. You add on marketing, which is usually around like half of the budget on top of that. So that's another $90 million. So you're looking at $270 million at the very minimum as the budget for this film. Then, of course, they don't get all the profits. The movie theaters have to make money. So domestically, I found that around my sources were saying around 60% of the profit from domestic sales goes to the studio, and then around 30%, give or take, goes from international sales. So opening weekend numbers, if you add those up, you get about $129 million in profit. Subtract the 270 million, you're looking at revenue. You're looking at 140 million net loss for the film opening weekend. Now, opening weekend used to mean Friday through Sunday. This movie got a 5-day opening weekend because of President's Day.
Mhm.
That's basically an opening week. And it just scratched over 100 million. So if you take away those 2 days, I think it was around like 80 something million dollars opening weekend.
88.
88. Yes. I'm going to share my screen here. That's just kind of, the preamble here. But you can smell the cope from a mile away. Oh shoot!
Infinite. Yeah, I was waiting to bring you on because you still.
We try to be professionals here. Yeah. We try really hard.
I got you.
All right, there we go.
Unique.
Captain America: Brave New World's box office officially passes the MCU's biggest bomb's entire gross in just 1 week. Wow! What? What an accomplishment!
It's a cripple fight.
It's a cripple fight.
Cripple fight.
So of course they're talking about the Marvels, which is of course the biggest flop in MCU history. I think that one made about 200 million worldwide box office here.
Worldwide 206.
206.
Is what I got.
What an accomplishment.
It's not the worst.
Like, this looks like something ChatGPT came up with to like spin this away that sounds good, but like we're really reporting what actually is happening here. It's not the worst movie that came out, guys. It's not the bottom anymore. It's just right above the bottom, just barely. I also love this picture they chose because Captain America is so clearly there. They just kind of covered him up there.
Oh yeah. Also a ChatGPT like Photoshop.
Gosh. So that's fantastic. I mean, this whole article is pretty much summed up in these two. But yeah, the Marvels. It did better than the Marvels. So man, it's just doing great, right? Can Captain America: Brave New World recover from its huge box office drop? It dropped 68% from the first to the second weekend. I believe the Marvels drop was like around 80%, 78 or something like that. So it's not as bad as the Marvels drop off, but 68% drop off in the second weekend. So we already talked about, I mean, realistically, if we're actually being real here, they would have to make about $1 billion to break even on their budget. And sorry, guys.
They're not even close.
Not even close. You barely passed over 100 million the first weekend, and it dropped 70% in the second weekend.
Well, the answer for that is after President's Day weekend, people are going back to work. They're not going to the movies from spending money on the weekend. So, give it another chance. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I love it. After a strong $100 million start over the extended, it's
cope.
Do you guys hear what you're saying? Yes, it's extended, which means it's not that impressive. But yeah, so there we have it, guys. 68% drop in the second week with $28 million from North America, domestic only. So yeah, do you think it's a successful movie? I'd
Well, I
call
guess
that a
it's
No.
flop.
how you count success. If it's not last,
It's
then
exactly. It's better than the worst.
There you go.
Well, they always try to say that too. They're like, well, it obviously isn't a bad movie if it's doing well, So you guys can go in circles all you want about how bad it is, but it's obviously doing well.
Well, yeah. I mean, the goalposts just move, right?
Yes, 100%.
and
But
if you don't support him as Captain America, then don't go see this movie. But then you're a
Okay.
racist if you don't see this
Right.
movie.
But please come see our movie.
Yeah, but that, your point's valid. The goalposts keep moving, right? It's every year it's like the newest iPhone. It's the greatest we've ever made. Yeah, no, it's no kidding. It's the newest one. It should be.
It better
For
be.
me to
Yeah,
spend,
yeah.
the new Dodge Ram. Okay, yes, we get it. God bless marketing people because they can put a spin on things, right? It's like this is the greatest
Don't
Captain
I know?
America movie to come out this year. Wait, what?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Would
it
another
didn't
one come out
suck
this
as
year?
bad
Yeah.
as Eternals
like-
or whatever.
This is the best iPhone yet compared to other iPhones.
Yeah, and
okay,
all of their
yeah.
marketing, like their
Right.
sales deck is like comparative to iPhone like 15. It's like
Yes. It
nobody
is
uses that anymore.
0.0001% better. Therefore, it's the best iPhone ever.
We
That's-
added another camera.
Yes. So
Uh,
yeah, the cope is real, but I just love this turnaround from Screen Rant specifically. Could Captain America still recover? No, sorry. If we compare it to Ant-Man and the Wasp, which a lot of people have been, oh shoot. Bluey, you want to send the link to the Flash? I think he's trying to join soon.
Yep.
So Ant-Man and the Wasp did come out around the same time 2 years ago, same weekend. I'm not sure if it had the President's Day or the full 5 days, but I believe that was $106 million opening on the first day. And that movie was horrible. That movie was awful. And I think total it made 463, and that didn't even cover their own budget. So yeah, it's predictable at this point. It's never ever gonna recover. That's kind of where we're at. Even normies or even sorry, I should say shills are disappointed in how these things are doing. But of course, we got Fantastic Four First Steps coming out. That's supposed to be the biggest thing since Endgame. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to go see that. It'll probably turn out somewhere around the same as Deadpool and Wolverine. You also got Avengers Doomsday coming out in, I think, next year or 2 years. It might be 2 years. So there's stuff coming out, but of course we also have Ironheart coming out in June. Can't wait for that. I believe I have another show coming out at some point this year.
Is Doomsday the newest Avengers since Endgame?
Yes. And have they done any building towards it?
Nope.
Remember when the sagas or the phases would build up to a pinnacle movie?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the
But
biggest thing. Go ahead, Nick.
they did ask Sam Wilson though to start the Avengers, so that's something.
Oh, you're right. But
Yeah.
that just happened this year. Like how many years has it been since Endgame? Like,
But we also didn't really get like a resolution to that, so you can tell that they had that in there, but they're like, we don't actually want this to happen, so we're gonna throw that line in there at the beginning.
well,
And
it's
then,
like at the end of Iron Man 2008, immediately it was like we're the Avengers is happening. Like we're getting the gang together. This is going to happen on the big screen from the first time. And it's like, okay, we have something ahead of us that these things are working towards. And after every movie, even the big movies that were like milestones, there was the next thing that was building up, and it made sense. Like it all made sense what was going on. And if it wasn't like, oh, here's the next big movie, it's like, here's the next big chapter or the next big character that's coming. to enter this universe, to enter this saga, who's gonna help bring a missing piece to the team. Like there's always something good and positive being built up towards, and there's not any of that. I mean, the last end credit scene for this movie was, there's like aliens in space, right? It's like, yeah, he knows. He fought them. He fought Thanos. Like, are you dumb? Like, we all know this. That's literally what they said. They were like, there's more than just Earth out there. And he's like, okay. Like everybody in the audience was like looking at each other like, what is that supposed to mean? And then this is actually probably a great transition into one of the points here.
Well, I was going to show this too. Rob Liefeld famously hates Marvel because of the lack of credit they give comic book creators. They didn't even invite him to the premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine. So he's completely cut ties. And if you don't know who Rob Liefeld is, he's the creator of Deadpool. So he's completely cut ties with Marvel. And so he posted this, get Feige off the mound he spent. Yeah. And maybe it's time for a lot of those executives to leave. Hint, hint. But we'll see if they actually do.
Well, Feige's AI, remember She-Hulk?
That's true. I try to forget She-Hulk.
I know,
but it's not that easy when she's probably going to show up again in Daredevil Brave New World, Daredevil Born Again. But yeah, speaking of what you just said, Captain America Brave New World director says post-credit scene intentionally unexciting.
Intentionally
unexciting in order to avoid overshadowing Sam's debut as New Cap. Gosh, they can't just stop smelling their own farts. It's just like it's all about this. Wow. I mean, did you see the movie, Chris? No, yeah. Well,
good on you, man. Good on you.
I rely on guys like you to watch it and report back. What was we're watching? It was the Star Wars, the Acolyte or whatever.
The Acolyte.
God bless these guys, because there's no way in hell I will ever pull that up on my TV.
Life. I'm so glad we don't have a season 2 to go through. Man.
We do have a season 2 of Ahsoka, though, so that's something to look forward to, I guess.
Oh, and Andor. They announced
Andor, but I've never seen Andor. I've never seen season
Andor.
1. So
have you guys seen the trailer for Andor?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I kind of saw it and
Mm.
barely watched it. I kind of looked. I mean, again, I haven't seen season 1, so I really don't know much about it.
But I'm like, what is this music they're playing? What kind of
everybody's talking about that. Yeah,
I saw that and I was like, is this like a remix? Did someone put this
right
over? So I need to do some investigation. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the actual trailer. I don't know, but I didn't watch too much of it.
Yeah.
You know what? Something I was talking with some of my other guys about a couple of weeks ago is some of these films that are coming out. Every film that is rolling out now started production a year, 2, 3 years ago, whatever. At some point in the process. When were they writing this stuff? Was it back when it was okay to bash conservatives and bash 50% of the country and like you said, what was it? The Charlie's Angels that came out is the great example. Like, we don't need men to watch our films. Our film flopped because men didn't come out and watch our film. It's it was written during that time, and we're just now seeing it. And they're like, okay, so we screwed up. Let's go back and reshoot and add, Giancarlo and everybody.
Inflate the budget.
Let's do. I heard he wasn't even in the movie that much, but let's go back.
Three scenes.
Let's go back and add, these great characters and fluff it up and take out some of the wokeness and this and that, because apparently that's not the thing right now. And so when I hear people say, like, have they learned? Well, it's not whether they've learned or not. These movies were already wrapped up or shooting, and everything was in place 2 years ago, probably, when this was okay. Right. So do they have the budget and the time to go back and fix it? And if they do, does it help?
No, it leaves strings loose. Like, there's loose ends. There's floating characters that don't make sense. I'm looking at you, Giancarlo Esposito, who I love as an actor. Like, I think he's a great actor. He's got a fantastic voice. I think of Breaking Bad every time I see him now. But it's like
Moon Knight season 2 is canceled, so he's never showing up again, probably.
Yeah, but
Dark
all of that,
Vegas at the end of a canceled show.
right? So you see all these characters that they're not going to have anything anymore because what they had originally written, they had to go back and say, this might not work anymore because it's not being well accepted. But that brings me to another point, and I think maybe we bring it up every week at this point: is how is Disney making money? They got to be making money somehow. How are they doing it? Because it's not with these movies and shows.
Part of it's like merchandise, the parks. Even those though are probably
the parks are doing good.
Yeah, the parks are always doing great.
But
of course, they got
that
so many
money
merchandising deals.
That money doesn't go. They don't have just a pool of money. Like it's all broken up. Like park money stays in the parks. Like I'm pretty confident that they're using that to re-up the parks. I don't think they're getting that much surplus to like put into another movie that this money came from the park, let's go to a movie. Like they have to have like the studios make money for studios, the parks make money for parks, and the rest of it can hopefully uphold some corporate stuff, but it's like they're not just like funding all these movies from park revenue. Like,
well, maybe when Elon's done with the IRS, maybe we'll see something about Disney in there.
Yeah, who knows? I'm surprised they weren't in the USAID,
Yes.
All of Hollywood.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Disney Plus is certainly not where they're getting any money from. That's for sure. They have to bundle with Max and Hulu to even break even. So
they're raising the prices again here. It's going up to $160.
Well, that's another thing too, is like, again, you guys talk about like when y'all were growing up watching films, when I was growing up watching, I mean, even the stuff that came on TV was great. I remember watching, Howard the Duck on HBO, and I'm like, this is great. And Dad's like, you shouldn't be watching this. I'm like, I am,
but it's great.
But it's great. Beavis and Butthead, awesome, whatever, and it just that, I mean, all the stuff was great, and it was coming out, and you would just catch it randomly. You don't do that anymore. Nobody's got cable and satellite and all that. I mean, people do, but not to
you're paying for it basically, though.
Well, now you've got
kind of coming back to it.
You are selecting what you're going to watch. You've already gone in and you're either looking around or, I mean, nothing gets a chance anymore. You know, and that kind of sucks because you used to just flip around the channels, and if something caught your attention, you're like, what is this? Okay. And then you might dig it. You might watch it again. You might buy it, whatever, physical media.
Yeah.
God bless it. RIP.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody does that anymore, but
I do.
but I do too. I love it. Oh,
yep.
But now it's like you go in with the mindset, I'm going to open this app, this streaming platform. I'm going to select this movie and I'm going to watch it. And when it's over with, I'm going to move on with my life and do something else. And so they have to compete at a different level now than they had, than they ever have before. And they're competing against themselves for a large part of this, because we all know as soon as it goes out of the theater for Disney, it's going to go on Disney Plus within
30, 45 days.
So. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so I'm already paying for this.
Yep. So why go see it in the movie?
How much to go? I mean, again, I saw Endgame in the theater. Thought that was awesome. So glad I did. You know what I mean? Would have loved to have seen Infinity War in theater. But if I can go back in time, I would have seen more of them. But like seeing it in the theater, experience it with everybody, hearing the cheers, and I'm like, this is cinema. This is art. This is awesome. And this is, and it again drove my passion as a filmmaker. I'm like, this is what I want to make. Like when we've shown our films, hearing the crowd, it's a high that's just amazing. When you hear the crowd laugh when you want them to, you're almost you're almost conducting a choir or something, and you're waiting for it and you're listening and you hear them laugh at the right time. You're like, nailed it. Or like with my last film was a horror, and you see them go like, oh, and I'm like, nailed it. It's those little things. So I was experiencing that. I'm like, this is great. Gave me another drive to go be a filmmaker and everything. And then everything just started coming on TV, and I'm like, Disney Plus, and it's like, I'll just wait. Right. Like we were saying earlier, like we give WandaVision a shot, and it's like, okay, well, these guys are done. So, oh well.
And you talk about laughing too at the right parts. Is like now they're forcing comedy in ways that we're like, this is so dumb. Like this is not funny. This is some weird inside joke that you guys have or something. Or
they just have to over explain.
Also, Yeah, I was just gonna say, Chris, you as a filmmaker, I'm sure you appreciate when people understand things on their own, and you don't have to spoon feed it to them. You don't have to tell them explain something to them. They can get it through the context of the situation.
Yes.
They can get it through the exposition of the characters with each other, the scenery, whatever it might be,
Well,
contextually.
yes. And that goes to another point that I was going to make too, is it seems like what they're doing is they're just going out and writing the films, shooting the films, testing the films when they're done. And that's when they finally review it and go, this sucks. We got to go do reshoots. Like there's not, it's like they just come out with the rough draft of the script and they're like, go shoot it. We got the money or whatever. Like you were saying, Blue, it's like they just got the money, I guess. But it's like, why are we waiting until later? I mean, everything that I write, and I'm not gonna say I write garbage, but it's not, Hollywood, but I go through multiple drafts. I got a buddy that I work with. If he writes and directs, I'm his cinematographer. If I write and direct, I'm his cinematographer. We edit each other's stuff. We revise each other's scripts. We co-write together and everything. And I'm like grammar Nazi guy. He gives me his script and I'm going through like, you messed this up. What is this over here? Was that? And like you're saying, loose ends, let's tie this up. Where is this story going? I don't understand this. And we really just, I mean, we will tighten it up. And all we've done is like shorts. But we'll take a script that's 30 pages long, which is about 30 minutes. And I'll cut so much of the fat and get all the stories down, and it'll end up being like 12 minutes long ultimately. But it's a fast moving, in your face 12 minutes. But they're not doing that. It's like they're just going out and making the movie. And then they sit down with their test audiences or the studio heads. And they're like, here's what we shot with all that money you gave us. It's like, well, this sucks. Here's some more money and go fix it. And blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it just it drives me nuts because I'm like, so much of this could have been avoided. You're not getting good writers. You don't have the producer that says, here's the arching story that we're putting together, like you were saying at the beginning, right? Here's our next Avengers. Because if they were really doing that, they would have started introducing more characters earlier on before Endgame to continue carrying it. Because all we got was really Black Panther and Captain Marvel. I mean, maybe a little
and
some
female versions of all the main characters, and
But
that was the thing.
The thing is too, like the people that are saying, this rough draft sucks, here's money, go fix it. Like it comes back to them fixed, and they're like, yeah, this is great. And we see these critics that just are out of touch with the rest of the population.
Two things with that. One, like as an example, the scriptwriter for Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, was writing it while they were filming it. And that was the first project they'd ever worked on, ever. And they put them in charge of this. They were doing it, and it showed. We know it showed.
Oh, I heard. I didn't see it because I'm still boycotting it. But
there wasn't months.
It was
there wasn't
the best Marvel movie written by a first-time writer.
Pretty much.
Good one.
That's right. What was the second point you made? Oh, and the critics. The critics. The thing with like Rotten Tomatoes now is they have got it to a point where you have to have the verified critics and the verified audience, because you have to jump through so many hoops. You got to prove that you actually watched the movie, and the only people who care enough to actually go through all those hoops are the shills who actually like the movie. And so these Rotten Tomatoes scores are so high when it's like, clearly everybody I've talked to and every critique I've seen online is negative. So how is this possible? It's because those are the people who are not really hired, but they're willing to do anything to somehow prove that this is a good movie for whatever reason. The Rotten Tomatoes is all messed up now. There's this thing called Critic List, if you've heard of that. It's basically like a kind of a free speech Rotten Tomatoes, and it's not just right leaning. There's a lot of different viewpoints on there, but it's great because it's just raw reviews and it's not skewed in any way. It's great. Critic List, check it out. It's growing now. But yeah, so yeah, the people in charge, it all comes down to DEI. They're not given the proper amount of time to make these things. It's about getting them out as quickly as possible. Nobody's checking the work, and these people don't really know what they're doing at all, except for they know themselves, they know themselves because they really show themselves through all their work. But
a lot of self-insertions.
A lot of self-insertions. That's all it's about. And then people will be like, well, it's comic book accurate. Well, the comic books are also crap because the comic books are doing the same thing. So shut up.
Yeah. Are you referencing the ones in 2018, like the new comic books? Because
it goes all the way back to like
Spider-Man.
Goes back to like 2013, 2012. You know, that's how far back this crap's been.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciated seeing Fat Thor. I had some representation on film, and I was like, all right.
You look like melted ice cream.
Like that. Boy, yeah. Fatten it up, baby.
I did appreciate his braided beard, though. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was about the only cool part of it. But
yeah,
what a sad
Waititi just
fall of that character.
Loves putting himself in stuff, doesn't he?
Who?
Oh, yeah. Oh, talk about self-insertion.
Oh,
That's true. Korg.
Oh, and what was the one with it was the last Thor? What was you were talking about the inside joke thing? Didn't they have like a goat? They kept like a screaming goat or something. They kept cutting.
Yeah,
it was like this joke, and everybody's tired of it.
Yeah,
man, that movie was one of the worst with the jokes. The floating what's his axe called again?
Mjolnir.
Not Mjolnir.
The
Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker. When Stormbreaker was jealous that he was missing Mjolnir, like, what are we watching now? Like, this is what happened? It's so crazy. Yeah, that movie was notoriously bad for the jokes.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, Captain America. Unintentionally, sorry, I screwed it up again. Intentionally unexciting in order to avoid. So he that's basically the idea was what they said was, there's other people out there. There's a multiverse. Oh, okay, all right, yeah. This is what we call a poor excuse for bad writing, but yeah. So I don't really want to go through this article because I just don't really care. But it's just like one nail after another. In other news, Mark Hamill lost his pants live on television.
Bro, I've seen so many memes and cuts, and oh my goodness,
it's fantastic. The best part of this, though, is they zoom out when it gets worse. And you're like, okay, maybe zoom in on his face or something. No, we're gonna zoom out and show everything.
Let's show the whole picture here.
Well, the camera op was probably somebody who hated The Last Jedi or whatever. Like, no, screw that, zoom out.
Man, I would have done a zoom in, pan down, like really focus on the hands. You know,
I love that William Shatner brought up. William Shatner is hilarious, by the way. If you don't follow him on Twitter, the dude is active all the time. He's like Elon on Twitter, and he posts hilarious. It's low key, super base stuff, but he hates Mark Hamill notoriously, and he will always bring up this article from like many years ago that Mark Hamill said, "Sure, Luke Skywalker can be gay, of course."
Oh yeah.
If you remember that, which of course makes no sense at all. It's like, just watch the movies, and you're like, yeah, it's whatever. But the point is, I love William Shatner. Just always finds an opportunity to bring this article up. It's years old. It has no relevance anymore. But anyways, I love his voice starts shaking.
He's probably backstage earning his next role.
How did he get to this? Yeah. How did he get here, though? Like, how did your pants not fall off earlier?
Someone had to be under there.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Come on.
Kathleen Kennedy's like, I'm going out with a bang.
Yeah, literally.
His pants literally just slip off. So, like, how did you not notice the entire night that your pants were not standing? I think Ryan Kindle's like, he clearly had a raging boner the entire night.
Holding them up.
Just hold his pants up.
He's probably lost a lot of
on stage. Got nervous and lost.
He's probably been losing a lot of weight since November. You know, he's got insane TDS. So
this is true.
He's probably old cuts, and it doesn't fit well anymore.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Probably not getting good sleep, you know.
That's right.
Yeah. Sheesh.
Okay. It would have been
Really
it would have been crazy with that podium if they like actually fully dropped to the ankles. Like that would have been insane because of that podium. It's like a half podium.
Nerdrotic was like, lucky that it wasn't like a see-through podium, like one of those glass podiums or plastic.
Unlucky for us, man. What a content grab.
Most guests looks horrified, but
is it Nerdrotic always commenting about him seeing his granddaughter or something?
Yes, yes.
Jeremy. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's mostly Nerdrotic, but yeah. If nobody knows the story, it's basically he pushed his son to abort his child. I don't know if they ever knew what gender it was, but Mark Hamill was the one who pushed this, and so now like every time Mark Hamill opens his mouth about something, Nerdrotic is like, "How's your granddaughter doing, Mark?" And no response. And it's just like, "Yep, you're a horrible person. You are an evil person." That's what these people are. Pure evil. Yep. Anyways, yes, that was a nice little.
Guest looked horrified, but said
nothing. They were turning to each other, wide-eyed. Yep.
Did that just happen?
Did that just happen? Yes, it did. All right. Anything else you guys want to say about Captain America before we never talk about it again?
No. Let's move on, please.
Okay.
With the dude that it was in one of the shows, of course, I didn't watch one of the spinoffs, but it was the Captain America show. Wasn't there another Captain America dude out there, Johnny?
Walker
or something?
Yeah, John Walker.
Yep. John Walker.
Yes, John Walker.
Sorry. Yeah, John Walker, and he's going to end up. Did he get the serum, or is he just a normal?
He did.
Dude
He did have the
serum.
So he's actually should be
Captain
America.
Okay,
and
right.
If you actually watch the show,
if anybody should be
besides Bucky,
not Steve Rogers or Bucky, but mainly not Steve Rogers, it should be him because he got the serum.
Okay,
and
I knew he was out there.
Yeah,
and of course he's going to be in that Thunderbolts movie, which that's probably another topic for another day. But
oh gosh,
it's hard to say if it'll be worse than Captain America, but time will tell.
But Bucky's running for office, so it probably will be worse.
But he's going to pause his campaign to help all the forgotten characters from the MCU that nobody cares about.
That could be a friendly wager on how bad that's going to be compared to Captain America.
Right. Yeah, John Walker literally was stopping terrorists, and as not Captain America necessarily, but he was taking the role of Captain America. Mm-hmm. He's called U.S. Agent is his official name or whatever. But so he was actually stopping terrorists, and then freaking Sam Wilson is the one saying we shouldn't use that term. It's an outdated term. You need to do better.
It sounds like you're negotiating with him. You need to do better, Senator.
Yeah, seriously.
Whoa.
That show is so bad, and it's probably the most hateful thing Marvel has put out. It's horrible. Yeah. But yeah, so here's speaking of franchises that have been ruined or potentially ruined. Amazon, MGM Studios shelled out an extra $1 billion to take control of James Bond. So this was already reported. They were already in works for taking it. It's kind of like J.K. Rowling fighting with other liberals. It's like you're both horrible, but one of you is slightly better. But they only disagree on one issue. For the 99% of the other issues, they agree on. That's kind of the situation we're in. I guess the owners of James Bond wanted to go. The only positive, I guess, for them would be they never wanted to make James Bond a woman, because James Bond is that's who James Bond is. They also didn't want to. I guess this is a second bonus. They didn't want a James Bond to ever be a television property, just like Star Wars, has turned into. They always wanted to be movies, which I'm like, yes, good stuff. But for an extra $1 billion, why not? So they sold it to Amazon. So basically, I guess we're gonna get a whole world, a universe of James Bond spin-offs and TV shows and possibly some Rings of Power cringe. But so the next question, I guess, is who's gonna be the next James Bond? But here's a little breakdown of the situation. It's taken around $1 billion to have 007 stewards Barbara Broccoli. What a great name.
Broccoli, but it does look like broccoli.
You know what? I'm going to go with broccoli.
I agree. You should go with broccoli because that's how it's spelled.
That's spelled. Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson.
I'm so mature.
The creative oversight of their family story, James. I'm knocking all my Warhammer minis over here. Of their family story, James Bond franchise to Amazon MGM Studios. Amazon originally overpaid on its purchase, just like everything. I feel like that's the case with all of these things. I mean, how much was Star Wars again? That was like $5 billion, something crazy like that. Was it worth it, George Lucas? You know, they talk about you like you're dead, but you're still alive.
Yeah.
His work is dead.
His legacy's dead.
Yeah, his legacy.
The only one who's there are a few people who are still in control of their properties. One of them being George R.R. Martin, but sadly we'll never see any more of that. But we might see an Elden Ring movie, I guess.
The TDS is crippling that man's ability to write more.
Yeah.
The winds of winter will never come.
So they overpaid. The value that was valued between $3.5 billion to $4 billion. The legendary motion picture studio was absorbed by the streamer for $8.5 billion. So more than Star Wars, which is kind of insane. I guess there have been more James Bond movies than Star Wars movies.
Well, this is for the whole studio, is what it's saying, right?
Yes, for the 007 franchise, yeah. So you get it's the IP essentially you're buying.
Yeah, 4.05 billion, by the way, on Star Wars. It looks like.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Somewhere around there. The hefty sum propped up by the potential access of the 007 franchise. However, Amazon couldn't freely develop Bond with Broccoli and Wilson in the mix. Hence, it took another $1 billion to ensure that they could fully steer and exploit the Ian Fleming IP. Yes. So there you go. I don't really need to get into the backstory of all this, but $8.5 billion. And of course, Jeff Bezos tweeted out who should play James Bond. So I guess that means anything that was already in the works for casting has been probably put aside and they're starting fresh again. But a lot of people, of course, are saying Henry Cavill. So we'll see if that actually happens. It might be Idris Elba, the guy who wants to ban butter knives in England.
That's the first movie. Is MI6.
But then how are you going to cut your broccoli knives?
And I like him as an actor. I hate these guys are opening their mouths so much and showing us how partisan and how stupid they really are. It's just like we get it. You're an actor. That's where you're best at. Would you please just act? I mean, Idris Elba is great. Everything I've ever seen him in was great. I mean, I love the guy.
But he taints that, you know. He taints it when he opens his mouth.
And I feel like Henry Cavill's the answer to like everything. The next Wolverine, Henry Cavill. Superman, Henry Cavill. The next 007, Henry Cavill. I mean, Henry Cavill. Dude's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But with this, I think it's better to have someone in charge. And when you're trying to split it up like that, it definitely does make it more complicated. But I'll say like the U.S. stock market, like all the big wigs love it when there is a divided political landscape. If like conservatives, if the Republicans are have the executive branch, and then the House and the Senate are divided, and it's not like right now the Republicans have everything. Well, they don't like that. They don't like it when Democrats have everything, because then they actually get stuff done. So it's when they're at a standstill and a lock where they're not getting anything done. That's when the market does best, because they can't screw it up. That was kind of the thing with this. We haven't seen a bad 007 movie come out in the last few years because there hasn't been a 007 movie come out in the last few years. So
I will say the last one that was what 2021, I believe, or 22. That was horrible.
I haven't seen the last one, but
it started off good, right?
It was so bad. It started off okay, but the ending was just like, what have you done to James Bond? It's so bad. Man. They really it's another character assassination, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's a few story plot lines that I do not like in multi-movie franchises. It's where you have people get together, like a couple gets together, and then the next movie they're having issues or they're broken up or whatever. It's like, okay, what was the point of the whole love story in the first one? And now they're just broken up. The other one is
or they're divorced because he's a man and men can never be happy. So
man bad.
Yes.
Yeah. The other one though is where they, like, for example, James Bond retiring in the last one, and so his number was taken by the other lady.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. Just I don't know. It's like we want to see James Bond 007.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a what would you call it's a phrase where you basically show one thing and then it's another thing. It happens all the time. I one of the
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, the one of the more recent ones was the or it's called Argyle. I don't know if anybody saw that movie. It was horrible. Yeah, I think we saw it. Yeah, we saw it together. Argyle was marketed as a Henry Cavill spy movie. Basically, it looked kind of like a sillier, well, yeah, not as a serious. I mean, Man from U.N.C.L.E. was funny, but a less serious version of Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was a spy thriller, type of thing. Found out that he's an imaginary character, and he was in maybe 5 minutes of the movie, and the whole movie was actually about Bryce Dallas Howard skating on oil, ice skating on oil, and a cat.
That wasn't what it was actually about, but that was a scene. Yeah,
that was a scene.
Yeah.
That sucks. The previews look good. I was like, I kind of want to see this. Yeah.
It's bait and switch. That's the term I was looking for.
There you go.
Everything is a bait and switch now, where basically there's a character you love or a franchise you love, and let's replace that with a strong female character, a Mary Sue, because that's more for a modern audience, and that's going to sell better, and that's what people are going to resonate with.
Yeah, like let's show you in the previews and all the marketing what you want to see to get you to the theater, and then we're gonna flip flop it on you.
100%. So
I was trying to look at how much did Argyle make, and the first thing was how much did Argyle lose.
So 0 made. That's good. It was underwater.
165 to 200 million.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope this doesn't happen with Amazon buying 007. Of course, we know what Amazon does with our favorite IPs. So
Rings of Power.
Yeah, thank goodness we're getting a season 3 though. So
no, I don't know why
I was so mad. I was so mad for season 2, but now I'm just like, you know what? It's just comedy at this point. So
you're giving in. It's
pure gold at this point because everything is horrible about it.
You think it's good?
I certainly don't think it's good. I think it's about the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But
maybe it's like Morbius. They just thought we loved it so much we needed it to come back.
Yeah.
Yes. It's Galadriel time. Welcome, Flash. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I know. It's crazy. Got all the way back to the hotel, and I was like, I don't have my laptop or anything. I definitely left that at the job site, so I had to drop back over there and grab it. But no, I'm good. Just a short little trip up here.
Whoa.
Not a lot going on. Busy with work. You know how that goes. I am listening to the new Dungeon Crawler Carl book. So the weekly, lit RPG splash to the conversation. The latest audiobook's out. It's great.
Oh yeah.
So.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't listened to a lit RPG in a while. but the Warhammer books have taken over my audiobook life. I am obsessed. But
Nice.
what are you gonna do? Chris, this is Zach, or the Flash, as we like to call him, because he comes out of the multiverse at random times. And this is Chris from the Morning Mayhem. So
how you doing, Chris?
What's up, buddy?
I also have this whole no cam thing going because half the time I'm either in a hotel room or I'm again hopping on late, and now it's just part of the mystique and the
it's the lore of Talking Nerds.
Exactly.
T,
Yeah.
We have no idea what he looks like.
Nobody knows
no idea, and they're his brothers.
Keep the camera off, man. Especially if you're in a hotel room, you don't want to get into a
that's right
Biden situation or anything.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Exactly.
Yep. But anyways, welcome. So, we got some news from the DC world. This really makes me mad. The show's called Lanterns. That's so lame.
Is that like the things at the end of Tangled? You know, the princess movie.
I haven't seen Tangled, and
oh really? That's actually one of my favorite.
That's a whole plot point. Like that's the main plot point.
How do you not remember that? I don't remember anything.
Who she is?
Hey, you have a kid. I don't. You probably.
I haven't watched it in years either, but I can remember plot points.
We got deep Tangled lore.
Apparently, yeah.
Just the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
I guess so. But anyways,
wait, why
James,
does it being multiple lanterns piss you off?
No. It's called the fact that it's just called Lanterns. Call it Green Lantern Corps. The Green Lantern.
Okay,
Corps.
well, what if there's others that are not green in it?
No,
that's not the point.
Because it's about the Green Lantern Corps.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like what are some examples of this? Like Arrow. The Arrow show. Why not just call it Green Arrow?
Yeah,
it's
because
about
they're trying
Green
to be
Arrow.
edgy, I guess. That is, I don't know. I would say that was the best of.
100%. It's probably the only good show CW has ever put out.
The Flash wasn't bad, and hey, don't be talking smack on Supernatural.
Okay, fair enough. Whatever. I never watched it, but I understand.
Awesome.
I understand the love for Supernatural.
I
guess Smallville, right? Smallville was also CW.
I never watched Smallville, but I
heard it's really good.
Yeah.
It's got the cheesiest Aquaman.
They actually had an Aquaman appearance in Smallville.
Yes, and I wonder if the Deep from The Boys was based off of that look. Because it looked very similar. Maybe a little brighter greens, but yeah.
Mm.
Anyways.
I just think of like when I hear cheesy and Aquaman in the same sentence, I think back to the SpongeBob Aquaman character.
Oh, yeah. What's his name? Barnacle Boy and
Boy. Yeah.
And Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. I was just thinking, you guys heard this stupid. I think Chris, you made a video about it. The Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh my god!
They casted Nosferatu herself as the lead role. And maybe SpongeBob will make an appearance. Who knows?
But
I mean
that pisses me off so much. I mean, and look, Jesus Christ Superstar isn't exactly the most non-heretical telling of the Jesus story, anyways. But that's just like salt in the wound.
Yeah,
that's what it's meant for too. That's why they did it. But
yeah, it's absolutely intentional. All of this is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Although my wife did love Wicked, so.
Well, yeah.
It was a good movie.
It was.
Because
I've heard good things.
They mostly stuck to the actual story of Wicked.
Yeah. Well, and my wife said Elphaba was way better than Glinda, too. Like, you can tell Elphaba is a Broadway.
She is a Broadway
trained performer. Whereas Ariana Grande, obviously pop star, so just sang the songs completely different. So,
what I was going to say about that is if they stuck to the format and the truth of what the story actually was, they're going to be successful. I mean, that was one of the biggest Broadway plays out there, right? And that goes back to, you know, what happened with Star Wars. They veered off the course when they bought them, you know, and then we were just talking about 007. It's like you bought a franchise that's insanely successful because it does its one thing right.
exactly.
Then you're going to buy it and you're going to do what? That one thing right? No.
I need to put my own mark on it, though.
Yep, I'm going to make TV shows.
Did we talk? I'm assuming we already talked about Kathleen Kennedy, right?
Oh,
not yet.
We'll get to Kathleen Kennedy
okay.
soon.
All right.
Spoilers.
I'm glad I didn't miss
Wow.
that discussion.
Yes. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. Or the alternative too is they buy this property for billions of dollars and then they don't do anything with it. They just sit on it for years and years and years. Sometimes it is better. Yeah.
Unnamed
Sounds
James
like
Bond
Sony
movie.
or Sony.
Yes,
Sony
With
is probably the
Spider-Man.
prime example of that. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the studio they bought, Amazon, but MGM. I mean, MGM's a huge studio.
Oh yeah,
a lot of great properties in there. They could be doing all kinds of stuff with. I mean, growing up, I remember seeing, you know, that roaring lion at the beginning.
Yep.
I mean, I loved MGM films. You know, I get it. Whatever, you know, you want to focus on a few, but God, do it right, or do something. Or there's other properties out there that would work for what they want to do. Probably, like I think it was in the article, or one of you were injecting it when we were saying like, you know, they're going to put this kind of character in it, or tell a different angle of a story or whatever. It's like, yeah, but that's not what that character. It's just like, you know, with Captain America, we're going to turn him this, we're going to do this with him. It's like, but that's not Captain America. Come up with your own character, your own story, your own film, and go somewhere with it that's adjacent, you know, kind of similar but different, you know, whatever you want to do. Like, quit telling completely different stories and slapping familiar characters in there and ruining those. And again, with MGM, you have so much property to work with.
Well, I think that goes back to the bait and switch Nathan was talking about earlier. You have to do that to get butts in the seat, and then they show up and they're like, wait a minute, that's not what I was expecting. I'm going to go complain about it. Oh, well, you're racist. Oh, well, you're sexist, right? Like, whatever. Insert whatever ist they want to throw at you. And it's like, well, no, I walked into the theater expecting this, and you gave me this, which is completely different. Not at all what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know,
you guys are going to sit there and you're going to like it. And that's that's the thing with the, you know, the phase 4 MCU. All of that is like, you're giving us characters that we already have. We already have an Iron Man. We don't need an Iron Heart. We already have a Black Panther. We don't need a female Black Panther. We already have an Iron Man. We don't need Pepper Potts Iron Man. He has 2 females for the one. He's just that great. We don't need
females equals one man. Clearly found the answer.
We don't need Captain Carter because we got Captain America. Like, we don't need those characters because they already exist. Give us something new, and it's not because they're female. It's because they already exist. We would probably be, you know, we're crying about. We're not crying. We're upset about a different Captain America because we already have Captain America. We don't need another one, and it's not because he's female. It's not because he's Black. It's because we already have Captain America.
The saddest part of that, though, is he's already an established fantastic character in and of himself. The Falcon is the second Black character ever to be created in Marvel Comics, right behind Black Panther. He's already a very well established character. He's a very loved character. He's already been welcomed into the MCU. We already like Sam Wilson as a character. We like Anthony Mackie as an actor, you know, on screen, not necessarily off screen. But you decided that Captain America is a better position than Falcon for some reason, and so we're gonna just disregard our Falcon. We're just gonna it's just a hand me down at this point because Captain America is a better opportunity for you or whatever. in essence, the white character is the better option than the black character. How racist is that? Right? You already got your character. You don't have to, you just said you make your own characters. They're there already. It's like, that's the sad part is you already have them and people love them. So why are you doing this? And the funniest part of it is, and we talked about this last week, is that was the most of the movie he was fighting as Falcon. Most of the time he was on screen, he was Falcon. He didn't even really need the shield. It was useless to him. Now, of course, there's a lot of dumb things that he did as Falcon that were unrealistic. Obviously, he would have died like 12 times in the movie, but he's still being Falcon. Even if he is Captain America, he's primarily Falcon regardless. So you can't even move on from that. But yeah, it is kind of offensive, I would say, that you don't think Falcon is a good enough character to stand on his own. You have to be Captain America too. So yeah, 100%.
Great.
DC provides an update for their film and TV plans. Details on Clayface. Yeah, we're getting a Clayface show before a Batman movie. Lanterns premiere and Batman Brave and the Bold way down the road. All right, so 2 years after becoming the co-heads of DC Studios, James Gunn and Peter Safran brought us up to speed on their vision of an interconnected DC across TV and film, a phase that is entitled Gotham. It's a copy of Marvel. It's a carbon copy. They have phases. We're gonna have here we go. 2 live action and 1 animated DC film per year. So that's 3 movies. They're also targeting 2 live action and 2 animated series for Max each year.
That's a lot of stuff.
That's more than Marvel's doing.
Holy smokes.
7 things a year.
And this is coming from DC, who can't consistently get anything out and hasn't been for years because they've been trying to catch up to Marvel for how long now? And they can't ever consistently get product out the door.
Not to mention they're conflicting. They're fighting themselves too, with the Penguin and Matt Reeves' Batman coming out too. So yeah, they really, no matter how hard they tried, they can never get their ducks in a row every single time.
It's just mind-boggling to me how they can't too. It's like Marvel gave you the blueprint. Just follow it and do it like Marvel, and you will surpass Marvel because Marvel forgot their own blueprint also.
Yeah, Marvel is floundering so much now. It's a perfect opportunity to swoop in a organized manner.
Marvel's at the point where they need
fumbled. DC has fumbled so hard.
They haven't even released their first movie yet. Yeah, Marvel's at the point where they need to start over. There's nothing they can save from that. There's nothing salvageable about it. It's in shambles. They don't even have a plan. Nothing connects with each other. People are going to the movie theater.
Loki's going to bring it all back. Don't worry.
Yeah, right.
He connects everything now.
What's he called it now? The God of Truth or
Time?
Time? I don't know.
Okay, wait. Side note, I saw a meme that like someone's finally actually discussed the giant titan sticking out of the earth. Is that true? Does that actually get mentioned in the movie?
Yeah, it gets mentioned.
It gets mentioned.
They fight a war. They almost start a war over it.
Oh, nice.
But it's not mentioned like, oh, holy crap! Maybe we should be like planning for more godlike beings coming to Earth and potentially killing all of us. Does anybody remember that there was a freaking giant being in the sky that grabbed 2 people at the end of Eternals?
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
No, sorry. It's a Brave New World because there's adamantium now. So we're going to talk about who gets the adamantium instead of maybe thinking
that's
about
the end credit scenes. That makes sense.
Is that what that thing's made out of?
There's
is adamantium?
Other things. Big
adamantium.
Things. Maybe thing?
The whole thing is made out of adamantium, yes.
Yeah.
That's why the movie's called Brave New World, is because adamantium has been introduced.
Okay, so basically setting up for Wolverine.
It basically decentralizes.
I don't know what
the minerals. It decentralizes the minerals from Wakanda, and so it's a brave new world because the economies can share the adamantium.
Yeah.
Speaking of rare earth metals, did you see part of the deal? Ukraine's going to start paying us back in rare earth minerals.
Yep.
Yeah.
So much winning.
So much winning. But I forgot what I was going to say now.
It's a brave new world. Oh no!
Brave
new
new world.
Sidetracked us way.
Oh, just the floundering. Yeah, floundering of MCU. DC can't step in. So much content, but they can't even get a movie out.
Yeah, they don't know where they're going now. Even the movie, in the movie itself, Brave New World didn't know what it was really about. It was going all over the place. It couldn't keep track of its own plot. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a huge mess. And I think Galactus is showing up in Fantastic Four. I don't know if this takes place in the past. We don't know if this takes place in a separate universe. I'm guessing
I hope
it's going to
so.
be that.
I hope
but
it starts over.
If this does take place in the past, then it's like, oh, another god being showed up on Earth too. So, I think that's probably what they should be using their time for, is maybe working together to figure out a solution to fight against these giant beings that could destroy us all. But instead we're doing this. So yeah, not to mention that probably would have messed up like the magnetic core of the Earth, having this giant metal being pop out of the ocean that grew out of the planet itself. There's probably lots of problems there.
Geophysics.
Yeah.
Fallout from that. But
that probably would have destroyed us.
We have time in Endgame to talk about psychology of the blip.
Yes.
It's like what they decide to focus on is funny. Obviously you can't focus on everything, but it is funny.
The point being, Marvel doesn't know what they're doing. It's time for a reset for them. It's the perfect opportunity for DC to swap to get in there and take that audience away from them. But they can't figure out their own stuff. So yeah, all we know is more stuff is happening. Lots of stuff is happening. So, but one thing we do know is that we're getting a season 2 of Peacemaker in August.
Oh, thank goodness!
That's what we need first.
I'm so torn on that show because it's very dumb, but also at the same time,
hilarious.
It's kind of hilarious too.
But James Gunn is only pushing it because his wife is one of the main characters in the show.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Self-insertion.
The bias with James Gunn is so real because
his brother. One of his movies.
Yeah, that's true. But half the projects that he's pushing are because he likes those personally, not because they're probably the most important ones to build your universe off of.
Yeah,
and he's like writing and directing a lot of them instead of having other people come in and do it. Like he's got his hands on it. This is his baby.
Yeah, was it Creature Commandos, right? That show that came out.
Oh my gosh, that was awful.
Buffalo actually watched more than we did at least. You watched all of it, yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
Literally in the introduction, it's like an animated. It's all animated. So there's the intro's animated, but they showed an animated James Gunn. I remember, like, really proud of his writing, and he puts his feet up on the desk. I'm like, this is what he thinks of himself.
Yeah,
I think we got through the first 10 minutes of that while we're eating our pizza, and
we looked at each other. Yeah.
Go, we're turning this off, right? Go, yeah, we're turning this off. It's awful.
It was so bad.
Yeah, and I think his brother plays 2 of the characters or voices 2 of the characters.
Yeah, the Weasel
and the robot, GI Robot,
and the robot. Yeah.
And they assassinated, not assassinated literally, but like his character, Rick Flag Sr. was basically, not evil, but misguided.
Yes, of course. But yeah, so we're getting a season 2 of Peacemaker this August. So that'll be, I guess, is Creature Commandos technically the first thing? Was that if that's
Oh,
in the DCU? I would. Yeah. Okay. So that was technically first Superman's first movie.
Did they say? Did I could be way off on this, but did I hear that Blue Beetle was going to be considered part of this DCU?
Oh gosh.
Even though they were coming out with it prior to James officially signing on, I guess is heading up. It like this was still that like it would still be part of this universe.
I wouldn't be surprised because honestly, well, first of all, Zack Snyder and him are friends. They literally tweeted a picture out last week of the two of them together.
Yeah.
So a lot. I mean, Peacemaker was technically part of the Snyderverse as well as Suicide Squad, which now is part of this universe. So he is picking and choosing things from the Snyderverse to implement into this. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he did that. That movie was one of the blandest, most boring superhero movies I've ever seen. Not to mention just bad. It felt like a really bad early 2000s superhero movie. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't heard anything about it, but yeah, could be. DC Chiefs on exit of Warner Brothers marketing boss and how David Zaslav has rallied the whole company behind Superman. Is this a title? What is this?
Continuation, it looks like.
That doesn't sound like a normal sentence. Okay. We've unified the brand, greenlit 5 theatrical films, made 3 live action series, and are producing 5 animated series. We've also acquired and distributed BAFTA and PGA winning documentary. Nice.
Well, they talk about doing quantity like they're so proud of it. It's like, okay, just because you have quantity doesn't mean it's quality.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're stressed because it's been so many years. What was the last DC movie? Shazam. Oh, The Flash. I guess The Flash, which we know how that did. You notice they don't have any no Flash plans. We don't know what's going on there.
But James Gunn loved that movie apparently.
But that was his favorite superhero movie. He said,
"Golly, man,
wild take. This guy is in charge of DC." So yeah, that was the last thing, and that was what 2023, I believe.
Yeah, when did the Batman come out? Was that like a year prior?
2022. It was 22. Yeah.
What did you guys think of that? Just curious, because I feel like I'm the only one that didn't like it.
I don't think you're the only one who didn't like it. Actually, I think a lot of people disliked it. I thought it was. I probably liked it better than people in our sphere, I would say, but I enjoyed the detective sides of it as a big Batman fan.
That was my biggest like about it, was like being inside his head.
Yes.
And like kind of it wasn't I'll have to rewatch it too. I've only ever seen it once. I'm like not a habitual movie rewatcher. Like there are very few films that I actually rewatch. The original Star Wars trilogy, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and Elf. I'll watch. I don't know why. I throw Elf. I love
Elf.
And The Grinch. But those are Christmas movies. So they don't really count. But
yeah,
anyway,
you always rewatch Christmas movies.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd have to rewatch it again. But yes, it was the detective side that I really liked a lot, and I think you could kind of tell it was the start of it. So you tend to give those movies a little bit of a pass, right? Because you're like, they're kind of feeling their way into the universe.
It's very different for a Batman movie,
right? I enjoyed it. I still tend to like Christian Bale Batman movies, which I know Nathan probably doesn't agree with, but
I like those movies. I just don't like them as Batman movies. But yeah, I also I really like the setting of Matt Reeves' Batman. I really liked Gotham. I loved I love dark fantasy type movies, and projects, comics, whatever it is. I really enjoyed a lot of aesthetic things. I thought the plot was definitely the weakest part of it, as well as the Riddler. The Riddler was just a Gen Z streamer, basically, who was, did a lot of dumb things. A lot of stupid decisions to get his way in the end. and I can barely remember how it honestly ends with him, but I think I remember he was like thinking that Batman was gonna agree with him, and then he like got all upset when he found out he didn't, and it was just like, well, okay, this is weird. So yeah, certain things like that I didn't think were very great, but I was getting a Batman boner, if you will. So, why did you not like it?
I love the direction they were going in with the detective stuff.
Yes,
world's greatest detective, man. I was stoked about that, but he solved every like riddle within 3 seconds, and I was like, there's not a lot of depth, and there's not a lot at stake, and there's not a lot.
That's fair.
I felt like there wasn't a lot of risk there. Like, okay, if he gets it wrong, so what? If it takes him a while, so what? If he gets it, figures it out real quick, so what? Like, there just wasn't a lot hanging in the balance. And I think they tried to introduce too many characters at once too, like the Catwoman and all. And I like the darkness of the tone, but a pet peeve of mine in films is the literal darkness. Like, they make it too
Game of
dark
Thrones
to
season 8.
see. And I'm like, I am not enjoying what I can't see. Now they
And
they use
a
that to their
problem.
advantage a few times.
Yeah.
And that, when they were doing the everybody talks about the 3 things, right? You got the Batmobile was badass. You got him beating up that dude. I'm vengeance, and then the gunfire and the darkness. Other than that, I didn't care for the movie. And a lot of it was, I think the actor for the Riddler's great. I forget his name right off, but
yeah, Paul Dini or
Danny, I think.
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Dano. I don't know, but
yeah,
I like
Dano,
him.
Paul Dano. Yeah,
I like him. Didn't care for the Riddler as he was. Felt like Batman solved everything too easy, and we didn't get to go along for that journey like Flash was talking about. I mean, I like the direction, but I feel like we just kind of glossed over a lot of stuff. It's like, okay, well, I know exactly what this means on this card. Like, why? Why do you know that already? Let's have some stakes, some high stakes if you get it wrong. Or you have to go back and go like, wait, I looked at it wrong. Let me look at it different. And then last but not least, and I'll say this, and I tried to overlook it. I really did. But I didn't like Robert Pattinson as Batman. I didn't like
totally
him.
fair. Yeah,
I didn't like the look that he had.
I did not like the suit either. To be fair, I hated the suit.
And then the gothy hair and everything. I'm like, you don't look like a Playboy billionaire in this either. Like you, to me, we had a great conversation on Third Relifies channel that I go on Saturday nights, and we had a guy that actually was at In-Game Red Carpet. He worked with the marketing team with Marvel and met everybody and everything. He's a cool guy. He's developing a video game, by the way. I have to let y'all know about that.
Nice.
But he and I were talking about, and I just lost my entire train of thought there.
Batman suit, something like that.
Yeah, suit, emo look. Oh yeah. So we were talking about like it may have been Batman, or it may have been, I think it was actually Superman. Because we were looking at the trailer and we broke the whole trailer down.
Oh, I think I know where you're going.
And we were talking about like some actors were better Superman, but other ones were better Clark Kents. And it's great when you have that duality and you can do both. Yeah. And to me, I don't think Robert Pattinson did either one of them that great, in my opinion. Whereas I think Christian Bale did both of them very well. And I think. I grew up with,
I disagree with that.
I love Michael Keaton. I had Michael Keaton Batman birthday parties when I was a kid and everything. But I don't think he played both of them well. I think he was better at one over the other, but I think Christian Bale balanced them pretty good for what he had going on. But I don't think Robert Pattinson was strong enough for either one of them. The Bruce Wayne.
My example for that duality is always the Spider-Mans, right? Like, I think Tobey Maguire was the perfect Peter Parker.
Chris hasn't seen any Spider-Man movies.
Excuse me? Is he even allowed to be on the show?
Of course he is. He's
I did favors for Mark Hamill. That's why his pants fell. So that's how I got him.
Right.
No, I'm gonna watch them, guys. I've got like 80 something films I got to watch, and I don't have time because I'm doing podcasts and doing my own films and stuff like that. But I am going to watch the Spider-Man movie. I promise.
No, I mean, look, without Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, there may be no MCU, right? So I think
I would actually argue Blade is probably the reason any of this happened.
That's true too.
Well, Blade's
yes.
a Marvel as a whole.
Yes.
But so in general though, Tobey Maguire, perfect Peter Parker, decent Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield, perfect Spider-Man, decent Peter Parker because he's too good looking to be Peter Parker. And then in my opinion, Tom Holland does play both characters well. Now he is younger, than like Tobey Maguire obviously is an older looking Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield too good looking of a Spider-Man. Whereas yes, Tom Holland is a little young, but he plays both sides, I think, probably the best. Like he plays both sides the best on average, if that makes sense. Like I do think like Tobey Maguire is a little bit stronger as Peter Parker and Andrew Garfield's a little bit stronger as Spider-Man, but Tom Holland at least evens it out pretty well. Yeah. So where they're both.
That's exactly where I stand, Zach. We don't agree on much, but we agree on that.
Yes.
Yeah. I also agree with that.
Yeah.
I semi-agree with that. I think Tom Holland's a pretty weak Spider-Man overall.
Wow,
but I think the reason for that is because of how they treat him in the MCU as Iron Man Jr.
Well,
right?
I can see that.
Not his actual Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, so
and look, and we're about to, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're about to see him actually on his own with.
He will be getting a Spider-Man movie before Doomsday comes out, I think.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, after Doomsday. It's either before or after Doomsday. So one of those, but yes.
So yes, we'll see where he goes without Stark Tech, right?
Yes, we will get to see actual friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Unlike the crap we just watched.
Dude, there's so many people on Twitter who are like, and Reddit who are like, oh my gosh, that was like so great. It was so friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Never trust Reddit. Never.
I know. I've been on Reddit for 10 years. I know what to expect out of Reddit. But
before we got to Spider-Man, though, we were talking about Batman. What I was gonna say is, I think Christian Bale is a good Bruce Wayne. He's an okay Batman. I hate elements of his Batman. I hate the voice; just ruins it for me sometimes. I love Batman Arkham games, obviously, but they're great video games. I don't necessarily want that to be my Batman, though. So I don't know. There's a lot of elements I don't like about that. Robert Pattinson, I would agree. I don't like his, the Twilight is coming through, and the suit I hated too. To be fair though, the point was it was a year 2 Batman suit. So hopefully we would have seen it progress to be a better suit, but I didn't like the collar at all. And it was the weird squared off cowl and everything. That is why I think the two best are for Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, easily the best Bruce Wayne we've ever gotten, and the best Batman. This might be controversial. Is Ben Affleck?
No,
the best Batman we've ever gotten.
I do think Ben Affleck was fantastic as Batman.
I agree.
It was good.
Not a great Bruce Wayne, but hey, he's
right.
Fantastic as Batman.
Well, if you think about it, he actually went toe to toe with Superman.
Yeah, that was still cringy. Why did you say that name,
yeah.
Martha?
Okay, take the cringy dialogue aside, right? Yeah. Like everyone always talks about Batman with prep time, right? Like that's the whole meme about Batman, and it's like, yeah, that was Batman with prep time against Superman, and he went toe to toe with him. So
yeah, I think, yeah, my issues were just how quickly it got to that point, because that story was the Dark Knight Returns story. I would have liked to have seen a more that should have been way down the road. However, just
100%.
Him as Batman in general, I liked a lot. Not necessarily the movies or the stories themselves or the writing, so.
Agreed. And I didn't think I would. When they announced it, I'm like, oh, you guys got to be kidding.
Ben Affleck, yeah, I know.
But yeah.
But man, that suit was great.
That is a great suit.
Fantastic suit. So, yep. Unlike the Superman suit, the new Superman suit, another suit that's
I at least applaud them for trying to go with the shorts, but it still doesn't.
Oh
look
yeah,
like
the
land.
shorts I'm fine with. It's more the logo. The logo
Yeah,
is the Kingdom
yeah,
Come
the
logo,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing this for? Again,
Yep.
it's all
Agreed.
about aesthetics, and it's just like, no, just do it right.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I think we can all agree to BTAS is the best ever as far as Batman
yes,
goes.
100%. BTAS wins. Kevin Conroy is the best Batman we will ever get, and unfortunately, Mark Hamill is the best Joker we'll ever get. So,
He
anyways,
is a
the
clown, so I
yes.
guess that fits.
The duo's MO was to course correct how properties are exploited across TV and film. Okay, yeah. Quite often, superheroes such as Superman would get double exposure on the big screen and on TV, but under two different mythologies. But that's ironic, coming from, again, they're releasing the Penguin, which is great. I love the Penguin, but like you're still doing that though. The DC brand was being defined by different creative teams at the company, and each was pursuing their own distinct vision of the characters, the stories, and it left very little room to collaborate or cross over. So it wasn't one DCU, but many. Ultimately, this fracture proved very challenging for consumers and chipped away at the very identity of our brand. So this is what brought us to DC Studios, bringing a sense of unity, cohesion, consistency. Not only to make us sense of us as storytellers, but also has to be the future of the DC brand. People want to see these iconic characters like Peacemaker, and Weasel, I guess. Iconic characters interacting. They want to experience this timeless IP as one.
Real fast and like 1 to 2 minute version. How can they make multiple different? Like, why is it that it does seem to be that DC can make all these different versions of the characters with no cohesion, whereas like Marvel, it's very much outside of animated, right? But for the most part, it's like you don't see live action Marvel characters outside of the Sony controlled characters and the MCU controlled characters. But why can you have like two different Batmans floating around, or like these random offshoots? Like, why is that? Is there a quick explanation as to why that is?
I would say the reason that I could think of is because DC's always done it better in the comics. The Elseworlds has always been better than What If in Marvel. DC is more fantasy based than Marvel. Marvel's more realistic, lifelike characters. DC is very much fantasy, outrageously nerdy superheroes. It's
I
more.
was even more saying even the rights to it. DC's just fine giving the rights to people if they have a good enough story they want to tell. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Well, it's always still under DC though.
Okay, so they're just comfortable enough saying, you make your version of Batman, you make your version of Batman. That's fine, because what you're saying is it's
okay. To be fair though, the time that was all coming out, it was so fractured because of Snyder specifically, and also I think they really wanted to push the whole multiverse thing because, again, there's been so many reboots and everything else. So it's just like, everything is the multiverse. And then, of course, Marvel tried that. And it's like, you don't need to do it, though. You already got it. Your MCU. But for DC, it made sense because, made sense. I should not really, but it made sense because there's been so many versions of Batman and Superman and all these characters, It's like, well, it's all just the multiverse, And in DC Comics, the multiverse is rebooted literally every 5-10 years, so it's crazy. So I don't know. That could be the answer. I'm not really sure, but So, anyways, let's get to the project. So, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow comes out in 2026. So excited for that.
Yay!
I will say Millie Alcock is a great actress. She did really well in House of the Dragon. So,
she's the young.
She's young Daenerys. Or, not Daenerys. Rhaenyra. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. But again, first of all these characters are getting thrown in. Like the Superman movie has got like Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl, and all these other characters are getting thrown in. We can't just have like a solo character film. But also, this is concerning. Tom King is notoriously one of the most woke, worst writers in comics, and he's kind of spearheading this movie. So you can bet it's going to be bad.
Well, I mean, just from the title alone, I can tell what they're going to try to do with it, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't throw Woman of Tomorrow up there if you're not going to try to push a certain agenda. I'll just
Right,
leave it at
right.
that.
Clayface. I mean, this seems like a replica of Penguin, but I don't think anybody really. Most people don't even know who Clayface is, so yeah, I don't think this needs to happen. This release is on 9/11 of 2026.
Oh,
Interesting. I think, and the reason was because they've done really well in September with It, The Nun, and Beetlejuice, which, to be fair, was an okay movie. I had fun. It was fun.
That was
movie.
Also Michael Keaton, right? He's Beetlejuice.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen the original.
Oh, what?
Dude, I don't like.
It's a classic.
I don't like Halloween movies. I'm not as into Halloween movies as you are.
That's fair.
I've never seen Nightmare Before Christmas either.
That is unacceptable, honestly.
I don't want to hear anything about me not seeing Spider-Man.
yeah, it's criminal.
We all have
that's
spots,
basically a
obviously.
Christmas movie. So you like Christmas, therefore you
That's
should
right.
be watching that movie.
Dude, no, my wife gets on me all the time. She loves that movie. She
It's
does
great.
not understand why I'd never seen it. I'm like, my mother didn't let me watch it growing up. Okay, so
Fair enough. But you are an adult, so
yeah, I am a parent as well.
excuses. It's all I hear.
Yeah. Nick, and Tyler, you're about to have that.
Chris is a
built-in
parent.
excuse.
Chris is
Oh,
a parent.
Well, there you go.
He watches.
Yeah, and he hasn't
watches-
seen Spider-Man. Okay, so until he sees Spider-Man,
I don't
Fair
think
enough.
that's his excuse, though.
But Batman 2, I don't think this is gonna happen, but production outlook is end of 2025. Release date is
production.
2027. Yes.
Okay, I was about to
They
say,
pushed
how do
this
you
back.
expect to release if you haven't even turned in a script yet? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was originally supposed to come out in 2025, but it's been pushed back a couple
Yeah.
of years.
I'm
So-
sure they're probably going back and forth about what they want to do. If Gunn is trying to unify the DC, like he says, I'm
Yeah.
sure he's probably trying to insert stuff into the script that Reeves doesn't want to do. So
Yes.
I'm sure that's probably the reason why it keeps getting pushed.
And here's your conflict: Batman: Brave and the Bold.
Mm.
Separate from Reeves' universe, Andy Muschietti will be the first one to see a script. They have a writer, but didn't want to name him as it puts too much pressure on him. It centers on Dark Knight and his son. Of course,
Oh, I like Damian Wayne as a character.
Damian Wayne is the fourth Batman.
Yes, that's fair.
Or sorry, Robin.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're starting way down the line.
Why are we starting with him as Robin?
Yeah. That's a fair criticism.
Not to mention, the best Robins are Dick or
Jason.
Tim. Jason's fine, but all three of them are better than Damian. So,
So we're starting with the worst one.
starting with the worst
Great.
Robin, it's not a great look.
That's what you do when you launch your new, series. Start with the worst,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Put your worst foot forward. Isn't that the saying, or no?
Right.
Yeah.
You start with a Superman that can't even work out to bulk up for the role of Superman.
Well, he's bulked up. I've seen pictures, but he's
a little
not Henry
bit.
Cavill.
He's no Henry Cavill though.
And
Yeah.
that suit's not doing him any favors.
It's not. It's you can see folds in the
Well,
sleeve.
CGI will fix that up. Don't you worry.
Not in these days. We already talked about how bad it is.
It is pretty bad.
Oh, that
Uh,
flying.
Wait. Don't skip over that
Flying
word.
with
The
eyes
je ne
on.
sais quoi.
Je ne sais
It was
quoi.
bad.
I was thinking that too. Gotta say it.
Gotta say it.
So it is based on Grant Morrison's run, which was Dick Grayson as Batman. So I hope they're gonna have Bruce Wayne as Batman and
But
not
you got to say je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi.
There you
Big
go.
he's a little bit nervous about big words now after
Yeah,
he's been called
everybody-
out.
Those are very
acting.
little words.
What did he mispronounce earlier?
I was using a bunch of legal terms, but I was also trying to think of what I was saying, and so I just really stumbled through it. And some of the comments were like, "Please learn how to read, my friend." That was embarrassing. I thought
It was
funny,
pretty
but-
rough. It was pretty rough. Not gonna lie.
It
This
was
is
funny.
why being a streamer is harder than your normal 9 to 5s. Very
This
obvious.
is
Yeah.
true. This is
Yeah,
hard work.
100% hard work.
Or being able to edit.
You gotta-
Hardest job.
You have to learn how to read. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard, man. That's asking a lot. So, Sergeant Rock. Yeah. Does anybody know what Sergeant Rock is?
No, I was about to say
Who?
what the F is Sergeant Rock.
He's like a soldier, basically. That's it.
So Captain America.
No, not Captain America. He's just a dude. That's-
Oh, even better.
Just a dude.
Just you playing another dude just as
Guys, this is another dude.
dude.
That
um,
movie could never be made now. By the way,
Oh, yeah.
Tropic Thunder.
oh, and I love Ben Stiller will say that, but then like still
but then
pander
turns
to the
around and
left
votes,
and then
yeah.
vote for Kamala. It's like, dude,
Mhm.
you're such a dumbass.
Yep. Bait and
Um,
switch.
Yeah. So Sergeant Rock, I guess we're getting that. Swamp Thing, to be fair, is very popular, so that's fine.
Did
uh,
anyone here watch the like HBO Swamp Thing series or miniseries?
I haven't.
It wasn't it.
Um,
It was like kind of like a horror.
It
if I
was kind of a
recall.
horror, yeah. I haven't really heard anything about it, but I typically avoid DC shows because most of them are trash, and I love DC too much. So yeah, unless it's an HBO show, I'm avoiding it.
Yeah, I feel like I
Oh.
watched an animated series of Swamp Thing when I was a kid,
Right.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Swamp Thing was super popular. I don't remember when it was. Probably 90s, 2000, early 2000s was super duper popular. And I believe they had a I forget who wrote it. But there was a mini series for Swamp Thing and it was super duper popular. But yeah, everybody loves Swamp Thing. To be fair, he's a cool character.
Well, this is why they're doing Damian Wayne, is because they want it set up for Teen Titans, because currently
exactly.
he's leading the Teen Titans.
Right. Yeah.
Which is also very popular.
Yes, it is very
It
popular.
was a good show when we were kids.
It's a good
That was
show.
Mhm.
great show. And a Matthew Orton screenplay. The rumor is he's penning a screenplay about Deathstroke and Bane.
Okay.
Alrighty. And the Authority.
What?
That's right. The kind of Suicide Squad type thing, or not? Sorry, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Of course.
So yeah, I thought this was canceled, but I guess it's not. So yeah, so those are movies. Then we got Peacemaker. I'm just go through these quickly. Peacemaker, Amanda Waller show,
Oh, gosh.
fantastic. Lanterns.
Isn't that just the G20 movie? That we
Yeah,
discussed?
right.
Right.
Yeah. Viola Davis as Kamala Harris.
There you
Dude,
go.
they 100% made that movie thinking Kamala Harris was going to win.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Yep, the writing's on the wall.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna get a show about that.
Woo!
Um,
Everybody wants that.
super duper excited. Lanterns, it might be good, but again, I would rather see. Well, first of all, I'd rather see just a Hal Jordan solo project. We're already gonna get Guy Gardner in the Superman movie, and he looks very comic accurate, that's for sure. But not great. Penguin season 2, Paradise Lost, which is a Game of Thrones-ish story about Themyscira. I love how everybody just tries to be Game of Thrones. Like, Rings of Power was
What's
supposed to
that
be
even?
Game of
What's that
Thrones.
even mean? Game of Thrones ish.
It means a big popular fantasy, like epic a show that
About
people
an
look forward
island?
to watching every year, or every week. That's
okay. Shouldn't that be the goal for any show?
well, yeah, but
You get what I'm getting
Game of
at
Thrones
here?
is the peak of that, though. That's
Yeah,
the
but
point.
you gotta-
Yeah, but
Everybody
how
tries
can
to
you
beat
use
Game of
that
Thrones.
as an adjective, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Because everything is about vibes now, Zach. There's a pass for
Apparently.
vibe check.
That's
That's that
the
vibe check.
vibe check. You could just say a period piece story about the mascara, right? Like,
That has Game of Thrones vibes.
okay. So, I know you all know what Buc-ee's is, or I at least assume Nathan and Nick know what Buc-ee's is. I don't know if Tyler and Chris know what Buc-ee's is.
Oh, I know Buc-ee's.
Okay, so it's a huge gas station down here, and they always have the crazy like what's the word I'm looking for, the billboards on the side of the interstate, and there's one that I see every time I come up here, and it's like it's giving clean bathroom or something like that. I'm like,
gosh.
it's brain rot. It's brain rot. They're putting
It
brain
is.
rot on billboards. It's giving clean bathroom.
We have clean bathrooms.
Yes.
Use complete sentences.
Exactly.
Are we getting old?
I am the old man yelling on my porch. I've already admitted to that, and I'm fully comfortable with it. Whenever people start talking brain rot,
it's giving old man.
It's giving old man.
I'm like, it's literally in the name. Brain rot.
It's giving 20th century.
It's giving millennial.
Zillennial.
Yeah.
Booster Gold.
Yeah, people are mad. People are mad that people are calling the 80s and 90s the late 1900s now.
That's what they are, though.
I know, but it makes it sound so old.
Oh,
it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Booster Gold. You know why we're getting a Booster Gold project? Because it's James Gunn's favorite character. That's
of course it is, because he's a smartass.
Yeah. And nobody cares about Booster Gold.
No.
And Blue Beetle animated series.
Woo.
The director, is getting to a place they're going to present for. Okay, yeah. So who knows? Oh, it follows on the events of that movie. I wonder if that means that. Yeah, I think you're right then. Yep, the 2023 film. So I guess they are bringing that over. There you go. Fantastic. I do like that kid actor though. He's pretty great in Cobra Kai, but bad movie still. Anyways,
Yep.
Put a chick in it and make her. Oh wait, never mind. She's gone.
We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
There it is. For not the first time ever, Kathleen Kennedy is gonna retire. Maybe, possibly.
What?
Is she doing like a Justin Trudeau thing? Like, I intend to step down.
She
Well,
does
you haven't
this
stepped down. You intend to do it. It's two different things.
I know.
I've announced my intent to step down from Lucas.
That is Governor Trudeau.
Yes, Governor Trudeau. Yeah. No, I mean, just like Disney says they're going to do quality over quantity every year. They're going to take a step back from DEI every year. Kathleen Kennedy has said she will retire. But the only difference is now everybody's reporting it. So it seems like there's some pressure to actually make it happen this time. I love this.
Too late. Star Wars is already a cratering hole.
The prolific producer has presided over the Star Wars and Indiana Jones franchises through mostly downs.
Mostly downs.
To be fair, yes. Very few ups.
Very
Mandalorian season 1.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
If anything, it's that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll
after
always have Luke Skywalker back on screen at the end of season 2. That's a huge up for me.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
We'll let you have it.
You can have it, old man.
I may legitimately go see Revenge of the Sith in theaters because
100%.
Yeah.
I'd rather just see Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy.
I mean, of course, but You were watching it with me when it first came out. I got emotional over that. So there's always going to be that. That's hard to.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. We talked about that with Endgame. It's like, yeah, we were very
Mhm.
emotional, but then you look back and you're like, wow, this was not that great.
See, if you only watch the part
but
with
that's-
Luke Skywalker in it, you can relive that emotion over and over and over again, and you can ignore the rest of the season.
But that's really the problem, though, is that they try to bait you with nostalgia. Yeah, it's member berries, nostalgia baiting.
Yep.
It's all about getting the emotion out of you rather than actually being of any quality.
Yes.
You know, the best things now, the things that make me cry are like the unexpected things now. They're like, oh my gosh, that was really, really good. Not things that I actually like have loved my entire life, you know?
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, sorry. Into Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes. After more than a decade in Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy is charting a course toward retirement. Lovely. The Lucasfilm boss has told associates she plans to retire by the end of 2025. Reps for Kennedy and Lucasfilm were not immediately available for comment. And yeah, a little bit about her backstory, all the movies that she made, all the great movies, and all that. And yeah. Okay. Daisy Ridley's upcoming
I love that. Received a
movie.
mixed response. You mean mostly negative?
The cope is so real in these articles, but I want to focus on this because I wonder if this will actually happen now. We've obviously talked a gazillion times about all the projects that are being stacked up now at this point.
Don't come out.
That never come out, never be talked about again. Daisy Ridley recently talked about her Star Wars film again, and basically begged for a job. But now Kathleen Kennedy's leaving. So I guess Daisy Ridley's out of a job again.
I just love that sentence too. Daisy Ridley's upcoming return of Star Wars has been languishing in development since being announced to fanfare almost 2 years ago. I don't know what fanfare you guys are talking about, but
yeah.
it was more hissing and
it's not the only
boos
thing
than
languishing
anything
though. That's for sure. So yeah. So I mean, who knows? But I would say just can it. Let's just can Star Wars altogether. Just put it on a shelf for 10 years and let it simmer a bit and let us all forget what we lost.
Also, again, bait and switch seems to be the word of the day. Take a look to the right under essential reads. Disney's Star Wars success. Oh, okay.
Succession
that's
problem.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
When you could only see Disney Star Wars success, I was like, but that's not Disney. Okay, that's okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. So most of this is just backstory. There's some stuff coming out, but essentially the only news here is she's stepping down. Maybe
we'll see.
Hopefully.
So yeah, I don't know. It's funny. You just like don't know what to believe anymore. But I have no clue if this is true or not. But again, there's a lot of pressure on her right now from everywhere. Every source has basically brought this up, which is interesting. You didn't see that beforehand. But yeah, anything you guys want to? I mean, yay, I guess.
Well, sometimes when you see somebody sticking around for so long that needs to go, you almost wonder, like, do they have dirt on other people? Like, how is this person still here? Like,
well, the thing is, Kathleen Kennedy was basically the intern for George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. And she was in the room with all of these guys and all of these projects. I'm sure there's a lot of dirt she has on all of them.
And I would imagine that has. It just seems like ever since Trump won, it's like, all right, DEI's over with. Kathleen Kennedy stepping down. Epstein list might be coming out. That might be part of it too.
True.
It's just everything's set in motion. He really is making America great again. Let's make cinema great again. I'm all about it.
I make Hollywood great again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The question is there anybody worse than her? Dave Filoni. is he going to take over? Is it going to be John Favreau? Is it going to be
Bryce Dallas Howard?
There you go.
Yeah. Who knows? Who was the chick who made a bunch of those Mandalorian episodes? The Asian.
It was Bryce, wasn't it?
No, the Asian
well, she
woman.
did direct a few.
Oh, God, I know you don't know.
Yeah. I forgot her name, but I would assume it'd be Dave Filoni if anybody.
It's probably going to be Filoni.
Yeah. Well, and everybody who loves Dave Filoni will see his true self come out.
You know something I really like that they who you were just talking about them. I can't remember if it was DC or Marvel we were talking about, but it seemed like they took some chances with like some first time filmmakers or writers or whatever, and it seemed like they really screwed up on that. But I like the idea of it, you know, because it seems like in Hollywood we continue to use the same people over and over again, the same actors. I mean, I'm kind of burn out on Pedro Pascal, The Rock.
I was just about to say Pedro Pascal.
Everybody does.
Pansy Pascal.
But you got the actors, but then you got like the filmmakers. It's like, okay, look, you know, you've cranked out some great stuff, but you haven't lately. Let's bring in some new talent to do something. I'm not a DEI guy at all, but I will say where one place I do appreciate diversity, especially if it's natural diversity, not forced diversity, is when you get people from different walks of life in that writing room together to come up with different stories. Again, the guy that I write with, my partner in filmmaking, we both grew up in the same area. We're a few years apart from each other. I'm a white redneck dude, conservative, and he's a black liberal. And we come together and we have the just filthiest, funniest sense of humor, which is awesome. And you know, there's no politics in it because I'm not pushing mine, he's not pushing his. We just want to tell a good story.
Yeah.
And when it comes to writing certain characters, that diversity between us allows us to write more depth to different characters. I can write better for some, he can write better for others. I appreciate that for what it is, but you know, not like we don't have to have a certain number of female pilots or anything like that. I'm not, saying that, but I do think that we could see that fresh blood in Hollywood, but it needs to be blood that's been kind of proven. I'll give you an example. And I didn't think these were bad films, just my opinion, and I may be biased, but the Shazam, I didn't think those were bad films. And I think the second one probably had more studio interference with it than anything. But David F. Sandberg, the guy who did that, he made short films like me, and he made Lights Out, and Lights Out went viral.
Yeah.
It went viral to where studios were calling like, hey, we want to buy the rights and make this a feature length film. And he goes, well, I kind of want to make it. So then they flew him out. He had no money. Like they had to fly him out. They had to give him a loan to, stay in Hollywood and do all this and that. Cause he's foreign. He's over there. Like, I don't remember where he's from. His wife barely even speaks English, but like he comes from my world. He comes from this, I have nothing. Let me do what I can with what I have. Lights Out was a great movie. The first Shazam I thought was good. He did Annabelle Creation. He did that one. I thought was really good. And again, like I say, I thought Shazam was good. The second one, I felt like there was more stuff going on than needed to go on, but I didn't think it was a bad movie. But he was an outsider coming up through, just the passion of being a storyteller. And I thought he, gave, freshness to it versus, and I do like John Favreau because of where he's come from, but he's been in the game for so long now. He is Hollywood, the David Filoni's, I hate to say it, but the Christopher Nolans, these folks that have been around forever. It's like, okay,
James frickin' Cameron.
You brought
what
your
a loser.
You brought your A game.
Well, yeah, and like to your point, it's like we moan and groan all the time on the show about how like Hollywood isn't willing to take risks anymore, right? Everything is a live action version of an animated film or a sequel. And it's because
or
no
prequel
one is
or a midquel.
Yeah, exactly. No one's willing to take risks. So that in turn probably means there's a lot of directors who aren't willing to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
So I 100% agree with your point.
Yeah.
Is you need to get some directors in here who are willing to take risks, but you also need backing for them to be able to pay to take those risks. So
And that goes in. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we were talking earlier about how the studios are working against themselves by having their streaming platforms and their films being released. It's like, well, am I going to go to the movie and see it when I can just wait a couple of weeks and watch it on streaming? So they're working against themselves. Like the trailer for Argyle we were talking about. Like, you thought you're going to go see this, it was something else. It was that bait and switch. But you know, they have to compete against themselves to get you to spend your money. You know, be it the streaming platform or so they're fighting against themselves. So this is the world that they created. So you know, they can't take the risk, like a Ghostbusters, like the original. Like that is such an odd kind of film you want to make. It's got humor in it, it's got darkness in it. It's Ghost. What are you talking about? I don't want to make this stupid movie. Now look at it. I can't get enough of it now. So you know, there isn't that risk, because there isn't that obvious return on investment. But the thing is the stuff that does or should have the obvious return on investment are those sequels and prequels, and they're not doing it anymore. So it is time for that freshness to come through. I don't think someone's first film needs to be a Marvel or DC or something like that, but somebody who's shown their artistic you know, skill set elsewhere would be great. I think it would be great to get some fresh blood, especially someone who's a fan of the work. Like, I think David Filoni was a fan, right, of everything when he got going. I know John Favreau
I think he got corrupted. I think he started off on the right
I think
track,
he had bad politics all along, but he didn't have the authority to do certain things until more recently.
That makes sense.
I don't think he changed as a person at any point in there. It was more about Star Wars at one point. Now it's something else. So, but yeah. Those are good points.
Well, I'm gonna have to head out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean,
no
if you
worries.
guys want to keep going, you guys can keep going, but I'm gonna have to bounce here.
All right, brother.
I am too. I'll take
care,
this
man.
opportunity too, if that's cool.
Oh,
no problem, man. Thanks for plug your stuff before you go, though. Just where can the people find you, and what are some of your socials?
Okay. So I have a Friday morning show that I release. It's not live, it's pre-recorded. 10 a.m. Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern time, that is God's time. Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's pre-recorded. It's about an hour or so long. Again, I cover politics, I cover entertainment news, anything that's kind of going on in the world. We just kind of talk about it. Again, I've got my conservative leaning bias and everything, but I always link all the notes and the data and everything below. Anybody can fact check me, go behind me. I'm very transparent about everything. But I have that comes out Friday mornings, and I take the little segments, snip them, and release those throughout the weeks. I got reaction videos I'll do to trailers or music videos sometimes, just for filler, really. And then on Saturday nights, I live stream with a buddy of mine, Third Relify, over on his Rumble channel. We call that Off the Rails, and it 100% goes off the rails. It is the R-rated whatever, you know.
It's on Rumble, so
it's nuts. And then once a month, I have my own live stream, the first Monday of every month, which is coming up March 3rd, and some of these guys are going to be my guests. So I'm very, very thrilled. We're going to have a huge nerd panel, and we're going to talk all things. Basically, we're going to expand upon this conversation, really, and talk about other projects that are coming out this year, you know, what we think's going to happen with them, and what we're looking forward to, and what we know is going to bomb and stuff like that. So going to have some good fun. Nothing political, really.
Hints. Yeah, I was going to say everything.
Yeah. But and I'm at My Morning Mayhem. It's at My Morning Mayhem, literally everywhere you can be. Facebook, YouTube, BitChute, Minds, Odyssey, X, YouTube, Rumble. If I didn't name it, Gab.
Not Twitch, though. Not Twitch.
Everywhere but Twitch, apparently. I got to figure out the Twitch thing. Yeah, I got to figure out the Twitch thing. This is cool. Y'all busted my Twitch cherry, so thank y'all for that.
Yeah, of course. Well, hey, thank you for coming on, man. It was great having you, and we're excited to be on next week.
Yeah. So. Thank y'all for the invite. And
yeah, of course. Anytime, man. You can come anytime. So
thanks, brother.
Yeah.
I'll take
care. All right, man. Take care.
Yeah. All right.
Bye. Alrighty. Bluey, you want to plug your socials before you go?
Yeah, you can find me here at Talking Nerds every week on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Actually, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. That's actually the Lord's time. Not God's time.
America's time.
America's time.
America's time.
I don't know. I can't beat God's time.
Gulf of America time.
Gulf of America
Gulf of
time.
America time.
Yeah. No, you can find me. Are you guys gonna keep going?
Yeah, for a little bit. I would just have one
Okay.
more article, and then we'll just
All right.
quickly go through, and then we talk about
Yeah.
Spider-Man for a little bit. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can find me at X at _Bluey_54. Been pretty active over there. So feel free to reach out. And yeah. That's it for me.
Where can we find your dog?
This is Cooper. He's a good boy. Here you go. Ready? Hey, Coop, sit. Yes. Lay down. Good boy. Here you go. All right.
Nice.
You can find him maybe on some of my socials. Maybe I'll post a Cooper pic.
There you go.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right.
See you.
All right.
man.
Peace, boys.
I thought it'd be remiss not to share this, but John Lithgow has been confirmed as Dumbledore, and I know we joked about the fact that he's too old. He literally says this is going to define the last chapter of my life.
Oh, good Lord.
He
Wow.
says, I'll be 87 years old at the rap party, but I've said yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, man, it's so sad. But hey, he's a great
Sad.
actor. I think he's a great choice in general. So hopefully it pans out. But yeah, hopefully he makes it all the way through.
Oh, no.
Gosh, that would be rough. If we had
Yeah.
to replace him.
That would be rough. Well, yeah, we won't stay too much longer, but I guess we keep getting Spider-Man pushed back every week. But since I put it on the freaking thumbnail, I just got to rant for a second. This is character assassination for me for Spider-Man. I think a pinnacle moment, and honestly, it wasn't even towards the end, but Uncle Ben never. This is kind of a problem with the actual MCU too, where Aunt May says, "With great power comes great responsibility." Instead of Uncle Ben, it doesn't have the same impact. But in this universe, Norman Osborn is the one who says this line, but he says it a little bit differently. He says, "With great power comes great respect." And so multiple issues here. First of all, that entirely ruins that line and
Right.
kind of the motivation for him to be Spider-Man, because that line is the pinnacle moment for him as his hero journey. And he'll never get that moment as Spider-Man. It's gone. You'll never, even if somebody says that, it'll be weird because Norman Osborn basically said something really similar, but in a twisted way. So first, you screwed that up. But it's not that like, oh, Norman Osborn is saying this because he's evil, which is true. But Spider-Man tries to take his advice. And later on, and I don't know if Nick, if you got to this part yet, he loses control and he tries to go psycho. And who saves him but Tombstone, a villain, a Spider-Man villain, is the one who talks him down from doing it. So Spider-Man doesn't find it in and of himself to be a hero and to do the right thing. He has to have a villain tell him, no, this is the wrong thing that you're doing. So that's the biggest character assassination aspect of this. Yeah. But it's not that like, okay, he learned his mistake and then he kind of, turns it on its head and we find out Norman Osborn was wrong all along or whatever. He finds he disagrees with Norman. No, we don't get any resolution to this at all. In fact, he's still he doesn't work for Norman Osborn, but he's still in good standing with Norman Osborn by the end of the season.
And is Norman Osborn Green Goblin by the end of the season?
Well, he is actually his whatever you call it, his hoverboard thingy. Yeah,
whatever you call it.
It does show it saves his life. Actually, he's in a fight with Scorpion, and the hoverboard saves his life. The glider.
To Spider-Man.
Yeah, the glider is sent to save Spider-Man from Scorpion.
Dude, what is it? What is it with media nowadays where good guys can't be good?
I know. I know.
No,
Why
I
do
think
they
it's
all
more
need to
the
be terrible?
Well, bad guys are
people?
good. Yeah, bad
Right,
guys have
I-
to be good, and good guys can't find it in themselves to be good. They
Right.
have to be told
Mm.
to do better.
Dude,
You know,
it's the Gen Zers, it's the fucking Zoomers.
I know.
Dude, they have such a terrible outlook on life that they're like, no, you're not actually something for me to look up to. You know,
Yeah.
that's not realistic. Yeah, that's the point. It's not supposed to be realistic.
Right.
It is supposed to be an image
It's
for you to
fantasy.
strive for.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not again, it's not like you're aspiring to be that person. You're
Right.
aspiring to have similar morals, or
Mhm.
they're an example of how you should act in a certain way, you know, whatever
Right.
it is. It's not you're actually aspiring to be a freaking superhero.
Yeah.
It's you're aspiring to be a better person, you know.
Yeah.
That's what superheroes represent. But yeah, so Spider-Man, he holds himself back on purpose because he can kill people. That's a known thing in
Mhm.
like very well established in the comics, you know. So this entire show has been like this, and I do want to talk about this more in depth maybe next week, but this entire show has taken that approach where he has to rely on everybody else to figure out what it means to be Spider-Man, even to the point of his suit. He doesn't get the suit from Harry Osborn gives him the suit.
Yeah.
And it's not even the first rendition of the Spider-Man suit. So even to like that extent, it's crazy. And yeah.
So
I think
again, some
another
of these comments I was seeing where they were like, "Oh, I was really confused watching the show, but that last episode just brought everything together and made me look back and really
You wanna know why?
appreciate all the episodes that
No.
got us here."
You want to know why? I know
Yeah, I
exactly
do
why
wanna
they
know
think
why.
that. Because the whole thing, the reason he became Spider-Man, and this is a retarded part of this story. This is so freaking stupid. It's because it was a time paradox that made him Spider-Man. At the very beginning of the show, a portal opens and Doctor Strange comes out with this like Balenciaga venom, really weird looking venom. And they have a fight, and a freaking spider falls out of the portal out of the sky. And we were like, what? Why is there a spider coming out of the portal? And then the spider bites him and he becomes Spider-Man.
Mhm.
At the very last episode, Doctor Strange comes in for the first time because Norman Osborn opens this gate and the Venom character comes in and Doctor Strange comes in later. And through this fight, Doctor Strange opens a portal with the time thing and it goes back in time. And that portal where they're at is the portal that is above Spider-Man at the very beginning of the show. So that's why people think, oh, this is brilliant writing because they brought it back.
What?
No, what you did was the reason Spider-Man was created was because of some stupid experiment Norman Osborn made that Doctor Strange opened this time portal and a spider fell out and it bit him. That's why he became Spider-Man.
So Norman Osborn created the spider in the future because Spider-Man was Spider-Man and he was trying to figure it out, but the only reason he's Spider-Man is because Norman Osborn created the spider in the future.
We don't know why the spider the spiders are in the room because Oscorp was studying the spiders so that they can replicate them and make more Spider-Men. That's why the spiders were there.
Spider-Man only existed because of those spiders that they created
and
by studying Spider-Man.
Because the spider didn't die, which the spider is supposed to die in Spider-Man lore.
Right.
Yes.
The spider lives and then it gets taken by Oscorp and
yeah, how'd they even find I'll watch.
I don't know because they don't explain that in the first episode. Because it bites him, it like gets into his backpack or something, and then 5 months later or whatever, it's just him being Spider-Man. So we don't get that. What happened?
It is.
Well, no, but you get what I'm saying, Nathan. It is. It's a paradox because they only had the spider to go bite him because they had the spider
that bit him. Exactly.
It's stupid.
Yes, but the spider only bit him because it lived when it bit him.
Right. Yes.
So,
yeah. That's ridiculous.
It's so dumb. It's so
That
dumb.
is absolutely ridiculous.
The best part is Doc Ock is a better character than Norman Osborn, and they try to make him Norman Osborn, like somehow defeated Doc Ock, and it's really because Spider-Man helped him. It was so dumb. It was so dumb, and the diversity is off the rails. Everybody is black or woman or whatever. Yeah, every single character, villain except for Doc Ock is diverse. Because
well, at least they're not all white.
Lizard.
Because that's always how it is. The white man's the bad guy, and the heroes are diverse.
I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but the only reason Peter is not black is because they legally cannot change the character of Peter Parker in any way. So that's why they have Miles Morales. But yeah.
Hey, Miles Morales is Spider-Man now.
Miles Morales is Miles Morales, and they literally say that themselves. They have to say that because you have to differentiate him. But they never say Peter Parker. They just say Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's PD. That's the irony of this. People get so mad. The shills get so mad. And it's like, but the Marvel's the one saying this, though. You know. So take it up.
Wait, they never actually say Spider-Man in the show?
No, they do. No, what I'm saying is Peter Parker is never
general.
Referenced as his own character. He's referenced as Spider-Man.
Correct.
Miles Morales is referenced as Miles Morales.
Yep.
Even Sam Wilson, Captain America, his comic book is called Sam Wilson, Captain America, not just Captain America. His comics that sell 5s and 10s of copies. Yeah. So I got really pissed off at that. Even Lonnie's character, Tombstone, he's shown to be a good guy in the end. He doesn't just turn villain. He helps Spider-Man out, and he saves Spider-Man really from becoming a murderer. And then he just goes on his merry way, and he's just a good guy, but he's still doing gang stuff. And he actually takes over the gang too. So it's just like, what? You can't paint a black guy in a bad way.
Of course not.
Norman Osborn, he's evil, and they have evil undertones, but they never fully admit that he's a villain, you know?
Yeah.
So, to be fair, there's going to be 2 or 3 more seasons of this, or 2, I think.
Oh, gosh.
That nobody's going to watch, but they're going to come out anyways. Yeah, really, really rough. Total character assassination. You just completely destroyed everything that makes him a hero and Spider-Man and Peter. It's trash. It's garbage. But perhaps we'll break it down more in detail because there's a lot of moments that I haven't brought up that are really bad. So Nick will have some time to finish the last 2 episodes.
How many episodes are there?
Last 1 episode, yeah.
10 episodes altogether.
Oh, gosh. And they're like an hour long each?
No. They're like
30 to 50 minutes, something like that. Yeah. That's the nice thing about TV shows now is, we might not get 26 episode seasons, but at least the bad shows aren't that long.
Right.
So, but yeah. Anyways, more. We never have enough time to talk about this, but oh well. Thank you for everybody. I guess Polar Knights for joining. You went off the rails in the chat. So anyways, thank you for everybody.
I can't see his chat here on our stream.
You have to pull up Twitch. He's on Twitch.
Oh.
But yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks again, Chris, for joining us.
What?
Your insight was very valuable. Appreciate you joining the combo. We look forward to joining his show next Monday night, the Monday Night Mayhem, on his channels, YouTube or Rumble. I will put those links in the description. They are not currently, but I will. And yeah, join our Discord. Check us out on X, Twitter. I got to get this ticker up. There it is. So there's all of ours except for Flash. I don't think he really does much on Twitter. So, but yeah, go check us out. Thanks for watching. And, if you don't watch the whole episodes, I put out clips 2 or 3 times a week. So you should see those videos pop up. We appreciate you watching and liking and commenting on those. And, of course, subscribing. We're almost at 40 subscribers.
Nice.
So we're getting there bit by bit. So, yeah. Anyways.
Nice.
I would say, what are you guys up to? But we're all on the same podcast. So there's really... Oh, go check out Buffalo Bick's podcast, Whiskey Mishaps. On Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those places. And then on Instagram.
Yeah, we're on Instagram and Facebook right now. Whiskey_mishaps.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. New episode dropping not this week, but next week.
Is there like a short version of why you picked Whiskey Mishaps as the name?
Generally it's just a lot of the times we'll come with stories of it. How do I explain this?
Whether put you on the spot.
I think you had too much whiskey.
Yes, like stuff like that will happen where somebody will have too much or something like that, and there'll be a mishap or something, or spilling whiskey. I think it all kind of came from one of the guys on our podcast who was holding his baby, and he was pouring a pour of whiskey, and the baby slipped, and he had the choice. Do I grab the baby, or do I let the entire bottle fall to the ground? And of course he let the entire bottle fall to the ground.
Yeah.
But that stuff like that just kind of happens. And so that's kind of,
I like the insight.
Start off with some of those stories before we go into the content.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't have any updates on my channel. I probably won't get to it anytime soon until things slow down with this podcast, which might happen once 2 new babies are born.
2 new babies? Oh, Tyler's, duh.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, I haven't done anything in a while.
Like, wait a minute, who am I? Who did I not know was having a baby?
Not me. Don't worry.
We're having twins.
Yeah.
So
dude,
eventually
Liz bought some baby clothes for y'all today, for the baby shower, and she was losing her mind at how cute the little girl clothes are. Like, don't get any ideas about having a second one yet. Not quite ready.
They are very cute, the little dresses.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're gonna be a good dad.
Thanks.
Anyways, guys, see you next week. Yeah.
Later.
Bye.
We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
Yes, Miss Kennedy,